of a new era on iRacing. With the recent changes on the GT3s, the cars have received new tires, new traction control, and a new balance of power. But it's also the dawn of a new era in league racing as an old series gains a new name and fresh wings. And a new prize pool is tonight, Absolute Sim Racing. Present to you the Race Anywhere World Series. Good evening, everybody. My name is Craig King. Alongside me is Daniel Handover on the camera duty down the microphone. Tonight, we bring you the press day. It's sort of like a shakedown here at the Nurburgring GP circuit, created in 1985 as an alternative to the Green Hell. This now 5-kilometer track layout has been a staple for many years in F1 in Germany and other regional racing, including the Nurburgring 24, where the GP circuit is still used. It's produced some fantastic moments. Porsche winning in the rain in the 24, but mostly a lot of F1, including Kimi Räikkönen crashing out on the last lap around here, coming down to the first corner, which is now the Hagen. It's going to be fantastic, especially with that run down to turn one here, and with a strong field of three classes, Pro, Pro-Am, and Am. We're looking at almost 60 drivers, but tonight it's a little bit lower, but it will be fantastic. Daniel, I think it's safe to say this is the one series we cannot wait to see.
Absolutely. Good evening. Welcome everyone to this series. It's going to be fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm very much looking forward to being a part of this as well for this season. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting, and I cannot wait to get started. As you say, GT3s, they've had a bit of an update, actually quite a sizable update to be fair. So this is something that drivers have had to get used to in the recent days leading up to this series. I think that's going to add an element. It's definitely going to add some form of element. I don't feel, though, it's necessarily going to be... How can I put it? It's not necessarily be the be-all, the end-all, I think, of these drivers. They are going to adapt relatively quickly.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone that's not been aware of it, the tire parameters have changed a lot for these cars now, where the colder tires are going to be what they are. They're going to be colder. They're going to be hard. They're going to be grippy. And we can just see, I just see Daniel Gilding myself just losing it for Nomad Sim Racing, just losing it on his outlap here during the final parts of practice. They're just having a bit more time before they go into the qualifying. It's going to be hard at the start with these cold tires, and we expect if the drivers don't get the tires warmed up, we might see some of that situation. But crucially, though, when they come up, it's kind of like the old days. So what I'm looking forward to is just the traction, because there is a change in traction control. A lot of people can use different traction control. I've actually seen, I don't know if you've seen it, Daniel, I've seen clips of these cars sliding now, which I think really just feels normal. So yeah, I don't know if you've seen that. It looks really fun.
I haven't, to be honest, but I to be fair, the joys of doing this for a job. I don't necessarily actually get to drive these cars too much anymore at the moment, especially for the time being. But yeah, I've heard people say that they have adapted ever so slightly, and it is easier to drive in a sense because you've got more opportunities to be able to bring the car back if it does start to go, which is always ideal. The last thing you want is for it to, for a car to be too twitchy, which actually has been something that's been an inherent bug of iRacing for a lot of people for a long time. It feels that's the one bugbear with iRacing, is sometimes the cars feel a bit too twitchy. But I think they seem to have got that in the bag now.
Yeah, they're working on it now, and it's also good to just have a lot of real-life input as well, especially on the NASCAR side, the IndyCar side. They took a lot of help there, and now they're building up to the road side. Of course, with the new changes in the recent patch, which happened last Wednesday, there's also a new car, and it's a new kid on the block that's in the series. It's the Ferrari GT3 Evo. I may have said the wording there the wrong way around, but it is the new Ferrari. It's basically just the updated version, the older brother, or the younger brother, really, of the GT3. And a lot of drivers have gone to that. A lot of drivers as well have gone to the BMW, which was a stalwart there. Now, it's a good little difference as well, because you've got to remember the BMW is an front engine car, and the Ferrari, a typical Ferrari, the engine's in the middle, like a lot of these cars. So I see a lot of people driving this Ferrari now. I've seen a lot of people driving the BMW. It's a really good mixture of people driving different classes around here. The only issue I find is only one Ford driver, no McLarens. But apart from that, we have all but one of the GT3 classes. So I think that's going to be fun. Practice has just rolled over, as you can just see. We are now going into the qualifying. From what I understand, it's going to be group qualifying for the three classes: the amateurs, the pro-ams, and the pros, and that will determine the grid for the shakedown race, the press day race in a minute, which is the 75-minute race around here.
Indeed, 75 minutes, a 50% fuel cap on these cars as well, bear in mind, and they have to do 2 mandatory pit stops. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting, actually. I'm, again, excited to see how this plays, because it's always good fun. It's always interesting. It's always nice when we see a bit of variation when it comes to some of these, some of these championships. And it's nice to have a bit of, as you say, a bit of variation. Never goes amiss, I don't think, personally.
No, exactly. It's a very helpful thing to do. The variation as well, especially with the 2 pit stops. It's all about the strategy. It's all about when do you go to pit. Do you short pit for the first time and then long pit the second time? So you do pit early, put a bit more fuel on the second time. Do you go for a fuel saving strategy, which we've seen in the old series before? A lot of slipstreaming. Then you'll see a lot of drivers clutching or lifting their foot off the throttle. That is one of the good things. I am an advocate for pit strategies in any form of racing. Endurance racing is one of my fortes, and I love it because in real life, a race can be won or lost by how much time you spend in that pit fixing, a nose cone's come off, or you've got to change your brakes or something. So when it comes to sim racing, all we're doing is putting tires on. We shouldn't be putting fuel. Sorry, we're not putting any tires on. So I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, as Daniel was saying, 50% fuel cap. That is not a lot when you think about other series. It only gives you about a 30-minute window of fuel.
30 minutes isn't a lot realistically. You've got to be when you start actually taking to the track and these things, 30 minutes isn't all that long. You do have to be cautious. You've got to be on the ball when it comes to, pushing the car in the correct position at the correct time. And if you don't, so that's when it really starts to bite you. So, being cautious is very, very key here. We see drivers just making their way out on circuit now and warming their tyres up. They haven't got very long in these series as well. That's also the other key thing as well, is qualifying. It goes very, very quickly. That's the other thing. So there's lots of things to happen. There's lots of things to go through, lots of things that you've got to be cautious of. And these drivers, realistically, they're going to have to work very, very hard to make sure that they can get a good qualifying. It's so very, very key here.
Yeah, it is very clean as well. Also, it's an open qualifying. It's no closed. You're on the track with everybody else as we see the amateurs going around. Just to give a rundown of what lap times we've been seeing in practice. We've been seeing from the tops of the pros a 152. The pro-ams doing a 53. The amateurs, no surprise, a 54 really. That second spread, low 54s, mid 53. Yeah, that's what you expect. So it's a very nice group as well. All the pros are practically doing 52s. All the pro-ams are doing anything from a very almost 52, but in the 53s, just to the end of the 53. So you get that idea that it's going to be a close bunch here, and it's just going to come down to who has the better racecraft or who has the better abilities to keep it on the fuel. But we do see some old names, or some old names to me, some new names as well. But we have to give a shout out really to the sponsor of this, which is of course Race Anywhere. And I think you've got some information on that, haven't you? It's a very good website.
Yes, absolutely. So Race Anywhere, they do basically anything that you need for sim racing. Race Anywhere do. It's a very, very versatile website. They've got they have sim rigs, they have sim wheels, they've got pedal sets that you can literally anything that you need when you want to get started in sim racing, when you want to actually start to upgrade your sim racing parts. Race Anywhere are the place to go. So make sure you do check them out. A link to their website is in the description below, so do make sure you go and check those guys out. So big thanks again, as you say, to Race Anywhere for headlining this series. Fantastic to have them on board.
Oh, it's fantastic as well, especially for just your needs as well. They did have an offer a couple of weeks ago, for some deals, and no doubt there will be some new deals. And of course, if there is any new deals, we will let you know, because we want you to have the best that you want, and in the best prices and what that you desire. So we hope we can do that. Now, first qualifying times are coming around. You have seen the timing tower at the bottom. You've seen the greens and the purples, and I think the first person to set a lap will be Mark Bailey. I'm just keeping my eyes on him. He sets the pace right now, 154.640, and now the times are coming in, and just look how close that is as well. I just saw Dylan Kinch just doing a 154.644, so that just gives you an idea of how close it is. There's only 4,000th of a second between the first two guys to cross the line, as we see more people now come into their first lap. Frederic Dory a 153.474. And that's at the moment the first one of the amateurs to hit the 153s. It is 26 Celsius out there, 78 Fahrenheit, 66% humidity, which will allow a little bit of sliding and a little bit of keep the car on track. But the times at the moment, I'm only seeing one name and one number in the 53s.
Absolutely, one number in the 53s, as you say. At the moment, that is Frederick Stensball, is currently the person that is on the top step as it currently stands. And as you say, that's a big margin as well. Mark Bailey's actually just gone through. He's just put a a session best sector 2, but it's only by 0.03 of a second. This is where the times really start coming down. We're going to see this after a while. Then they're going to start to drop. It will take a little bit of time, but once those times start to come down, you'll see them. Everyone gets in their stride, then they'll really start to push. You've got to have some banking, some banker laps. I think that's the key thing as well. You need to have the banking laps, because if you do then try and push and it goes a little bit Pete Tong, then that's where it gets a little bit tricky. You can see now on your screen there on the left-hand side, 53.474 is currently that top step, and then a 0.7 gap, down into P2. And then it goes pretty close to there. You've got another 0.9 from then the top 5. Again, it's very hard to determine where this is actually going to end up, because people have really only done their first flying laps. A bit more time in it yet.
Yeah, Mark Bailey just going across the line here. He's been green quite a while, and he comes across the 154.170. Not a bad time. Not a bad time for the VRT man. That puts him third currently in the amateurs. No times have really changed, unfortunately. Frederick decided not to go out for another lap. I think Henning Haig might be one of the next people to try and go for a lap here. I'm just seeing him come through the chicane. And of course, it is the fastest chicane today, not the F1 chicane. Comes around the Coca-Cola curve. You see some more VRT drivers just crossing the line here, but I'm just keeping my eyes on Henning Haig. He does improve, but not enough. It's now 0.6, not 0.7 the gap. But I think that was James Costa we just saw there. Just going 154.052. Look how many purple sectors he had, and then all went wrong for him at the end, which is a bit of a shame. Keep watching here. That is, I'm just trying to see who else is crossing the line right now. I think we're seeing all of them now. I think that's all the amateurs.
Yes, you are absolutely right.
Yes, there's all the amateurs. Of course, yeah, that's Frederick Droy, the only one in the 153s of a very good 153.474 in the BMW. James F. Costa in his Mercedes, a 154.052, and Henning Haig in further, that 154.146 in the Audi. And I got to say as well, when you look at Mark Bailey in fourth in a Ferrari, Ingo Lapsian in a Porsche, Dylan Kinch in a Lamborghini. Look at the top 6 in amateur, all different manufacturers, which I think is fantastic for parity.
Oh, it is, absolutely. It absolutely is. You've got to be... Again, 75 minutes, it's a long way to go. Don't count anything out just yet. We've got the Pro-Am drivers that we're going out, I believe, in a few moments' time. Just a couple more drivers that are finishing their laps. Realistically, while qualifying does give you a good indication of what people's pace is generally, it doesn't necessarily mean that is going to be something that is going to be the same throughout the race. People may find themselves a bit better in the racing scenario. People might find themselves a little bit better in the qualifying as well. We really just don't know. This is a great opportunity for people to test basically just to test the waters, isn't it, Craig, realistically?
Yeah, it's a test. It's a test of water. It's a litmus test, as they used to say. I myself I'm not a hot lapper. So for me, a qualifying, I'm probably gonna be like some of these guys. If I'm here right now and say I'm the 82 of Ingo Lapsian, I'm doing a 154.328, I'm thinking it's a nice time. But then again, that's my quali time. It's probably the same as my race pace. So let's put another 10th onto that, because and that's my race pace. So that's what some of these drivers may be looking at right now. But of course, then comes that factor. We're not talking about a 40-minute sprint race here. We're talking 75 minutes. It's practically almost an endurance race, especially with the 2 pit stops. You have to really time it. So some of these drivers will be looking at these times right now, gauging where they're looking for. And of course, for some of these drivers, they have driven with each other before in leagues previously. But other drivers, they're brand new. They don't know people. So it's almost like your first day at school right now for these drivers. They're getting to know everybody, and hopefully they don't come together. But right now, they're all driving around. The Pro-Ams are out at the moment. Albin Kelberg will be the first one to set a lap, again, for VRT and one of their other teams. But it is a very big list. And what I've also heard is also a list of very very, a lot of, as we keep going back to it, a lot of different car manufacturers here. You got a Ferrari, you got an Audi, there's a Lamborghini, there's a BMW. Everybody here is doing fantastic. And a shout out as well to Daniel Gilding, one of the last amateur winners of the previous World Series, making a step up to Pro-Am now. I'm really curious what he'll do for the Nomad team, but we'll wait and see. Nomad as well, just really stretching their legs out recently in the iRacing esports world. What can he do for the Pro-Ams?
Well, I don't know. We're going to have to see, as you say, how it all pans out. Like I said, we don't know at this moment in time, as everyone just getting ready, just putting up. I said, getting the tyres warmed up. They haven't got too long. Bear in mind, they've got to make it count, and they need to make sure that they're in a position as well where they're not, pushing too much in the tyres straight away. You've got to give them time to warm up. You've got to give them an opportunity to bring them up gradually. It cannot just be all of a sudden straight out from the word go. You've got to be tentative here. That's the other key thing. There's lots of things to think of here. Like when you really, really break it down, there's so many things. It's such a complex thing, qualifying, or it can be such a complex thing. Apologies for the small little issues we're having with the broadcast. It's a little bit choppy, but we're going to be making sure that we can sort that out as soon as possible. Yes, so as drivers come around on the very, very first of their flying laps, and this is where they get the hammer down straight away. Don't push too much through the tyres on that out lap. Get them a little bit warm, and then it really settles in. That second half of this first lap, isn't it, Craig? That's where it really starts to turn on. Yeah,
and here we go, really. I think it might be good, really. This is Daniel Segley just taking a lap around the track right here. And that Haghagen is a very tough corner into the Mercedes arena. It's not a very popular thing, but I do love this area. Look for your best brake marker here as you come through the arena. You can take a lot of curb on the inside there and not a lot on here, but a lot of the AstroTurf on the outside. It's a very nice corner there. So we're just going to keep... I'm just seeing Smegley there. He is at the moment. He is only green. Kelberg, of course, is purple. He's really setting some good times here. But the Nomad driver, Daniel Gilding, what can he do as well? It's going to be interesting to see. Really curious to see what Kelberg's going to do. He is going faster. Now, he will be purple because he's going to be faster than anybody at the moment, including the times we already see, because everybody's out there on their own at the moment. Kelberg, as we were saying, will be the first one to set a lap. And I bet you it will be probably, I'm going to say it's going to be about a mid 53. He's got to beat a 153.474. I think he'll get that as he's coming around just one more corner. I'm just keeping my eyes on Kelberg because he has gone purple for around the Coca-Cola curve. Gets on the throttle. Very nice throttle control there in that Ferrari, the number 53. He'll cross the line, and it is going to be a 153.211 for the VRT man. Now, what can our friend here, what can the Nomad driver do? What can Daniel Gilding do as he comes down as well? We see some more times coming as well. Valentin Ambard with 154.019. Look at that. That's slower than the amateur. Will Richardson, 153.533. Fredericks had a really good time when you've got all these decent Pro-Am drivers and really good Pro-Am drivers. They're struggling on their first lap. That's got to be a banker lap, surely, by a lot of these drivers.
Well, I think it's probably, you probably think, as you say, that it is a bit of a banker lap for these drivers. Realistically, they've got to have that one. So, Alban Kelberg. Sven, that's, I believe, who has just gone on the top step. Do you know what?
Svenning Matters.
Yes, look at that. Fair play.
And also saw Harry Wills was going purple. He's going to cross the line, and it's an invalid lap for Harry Wills.
Oh, shame.
He was going purple. We saw a lot of purple.
Kelberg's going purple as well.
Yeah, we still see purples. The Kelberg is fantastic timing tower here as well, just giving us the sections. And really, you don't want to see the yellows like we're seeing there for Valentin at the moment. You want to see the greens. You want to see that purple. Kelberg doing really good here, but it's only green as he comes up around to Michelin curve and down into the Wallstein. He's at the business end of the track now. He's gone through the technical stuff. He's going to go down the straight to Advan in this little kink here. This is going to be crucial. Can he make it purple? If it's purple, it's yellow. He's down. He's down at the moment. He's got a few more corners left into the fast chicane. One more corner. Coca-Cola curve. Now, he's been down this last section, but he's been up. He's been so fast. Can he get into the 52s? Can he just overtake Svenning here? He's got to find 3/10 overall. What does he find as he crosses the line? It's a 52.987. He can't do it. Can't do it by 0.05 of a second.
It's not too much, is it? It's a very, very small margin. Bit of a shame there. I'm sure he'll be frustrated. But at the same time, 500 of a second. It's not too bad. Still a very, very respectable lap time as we've got Chris Whaley that's going to be coming through the last corner now. What is it going to be? Is it going to be improvement? We've seen some green sectors from him. You can see at the bottom of your screen. Is he going to make an improvement? Yes, he does, up into P3. Good lap there from Chris Whaley. Very, very nice. Manages to get it stuck, done and dusted. Good stuff indeed. Sedgley doesn't make an improvement, unfortunately. A couple more drivers still to go. Michael Patterman's actually just improved on his time in the BMW. So he now goes up into P18 overall, P13 in class. So we just need to see, again, making sure that... I'm trying to think who else is really coming through. I think a few people are still yet to cross the line. Thomas Dandridge being one of them, doesn't make an improvement. And you know what? I think that's actually pretty much all of the grid that we can see.
Yeah, that's all of the prior. Just one driver not taking a qualifying there, which is Ethan Bass, the lone Ford representative. But now comes, well, I say it's the big boys. It is the big boys. The pro drivers are now coming out. But can I just say that was a fantastic, just late lap there from Eric Benson. That 153.012 doesn't sound a lot in paper, but you think that is only 700th of a second slower than Svenning's time. In fact, the top three are separated just by 700ths. And then the gap between the top three and the rest is quite a big gap. 3/10, especially. We were talking about the 5/10 for the amateurs, but the 3/10 around here is very, very crucial there. So really looking forward to that. But like I said, here comes the pro drivers. They'll all get ready. Nick Madsen will be the first one. Kaz Hugenot will be second. Victor Yoen and Alex Gao lead them all the way. I'm really curious to see what some of these guys do, especially we've got representatives from a lot of teams. Harley Horton, Full Sen Racing, Stuart Reynolds, of course, from SimFX Racing. Demon Weeks from Sean Campbell, former champion. And for those keeping track, in the last World Series, second place on the longest tiebreaker I have ever seen. I think it got down to 6 permutations. So he's out to win. Yeah, he is out to win. He wants that title back that he won 2 seasons ago.
Well, I think realistically, I mean, there's so much, there's so much to take into consideration, isn't there? It's very, very. Also, just a few people have said again, apologies for the issues. It seems to be all okay now on the stream. So again, we do apologise for the small issues that we had there. Yeah. It's going to be so close. We're not really going to know, are we? To be fair, Greg, we're not going to know until realistically, at least halfway through the season, who's really got a strong hold. And even then, we might not know. That's the other key thing, is we might not have a clue who's actually going to be really sort of whether people are going to run away with it. I can't see it with how close it's been, how many people we've got in this championship. I can't see it. People just running away with it. I genuinely can't. And I suppose, to be fair, regardless whether you're racing, commentating, observing, watching, whatever it may be, you want a good fight, don't you? Oh, as we see, that was Max Furtwängler. Had a small moment, manages to get, obviously out of the way, he spins off the track, manages to get back on without causing anyone else some time loss. There we are, Sean Campbell, currently the BMW. A lot of people in the BMW, a lot of people actually in the Porsche. And as you say, as well, we have seen a lot of people then switch over to the new Ferrari Evo. It looks the same. It's got a slightly different rear diffuser, but from a distance, it would pretty much look identical. But there's a lot of suspension geometry changes, I believe. That's the main thing, isn't it? And maybe a little bit more power.
Yes, a little bit more power, a little bit wider as well. And one of the cool things as well is that Ferrari themselves asked for it to be put into the sim. iRacing didn't go to Ferrari. Ferrari went to them. Gave them a CAD design and said, we'd like it in. Here's all the information. So a really nice conversation there with Ferrari and iRacing to get that going, and fantastic to see. We see some of the drivers getting ready to do their laps, and I was just thinking there with Max doing that spin, it's not going to help the tyres, especially on a warm-up lap. Yeah, you think you heat the tyres up, you overheat the tyres, and it takes a while to cool them down a bit. So might be a little bit of a tentative start for Max on the start of his lap, but a lot of drivers coming out here. There isn't a big split in the pros. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches. There is a couple Mercedes. That's about it. There's no other representation. There's no Audis. There's no McLaren. We said that there's no McLarens, of course. There's no Fords, but it's just only out three or four of the GT3s in the pros. But there's still good ones. The stable BMW, the aggressive Lamborghini, the the all-around Ferrari is, as what I've always used to call it. I always used to call it the best, the best car to learn GT racing on was a Ferrari. Hence why there's the Ferrari Challenge on iRacing. So it does give you an idea of what we're seeing. Of course, we are seeing purples. Alex Gao has just gone purple the last couple sections as well. So he will be the one to keep an eye out for, the 64 here. Alex Gao, of course, racing for VRS Satellite as he's coming up to the Coca-Cola, sorry. He's coming up to the chicane. Not purple at the moment. Kaj Huguenot took that purple. He'll be the first one really to set a lap. Madsen, 152.609. Huguenot, 52.712. What can Alex Gao and the VRS Satellite do? He'll be the next one to come around. It is going to be a 152.447. He will take pole. And everybody else, you can just see with the greens, that is the marker that they have to go for right now. 152.447. I don't think anybody went faster in practice.
No, I don't think at the moment. That was a very, very quick time indeed. So the Ferrari's currently 1-2, looking very, very racy at this moment in time. We're going to have to see how it goes, though. It's not over yet. Sean Campbell still yet to set. His last lap was a 53.57. I would imagine he has a little bit more time in the bag than that. We'll have to see how it goes. Bennett, that's Alex Bennett's just gone in with a 52.715. So currently slotting into P5 there. So good stuff to see. Really nice again to see that these drivers, mixture of everything here. So we've got, admittedly, is 2 Ferraris and then 3 Lamborghinis up to P5. So the Italians really running away with it in terms of what would be a manufacturer, sort of a nation standing. But at this moment in time as well, it's not over yet. Augusto Katayami coming through down into the bottom hairpin. A very, very complex corner, even though it is just a right-hander. There's a bit of off-camber. You've got to make sure that you hit it at the right point. You don't want to turn in too late. You want to carry that momentum through. Even in GT3 cars, Craig, as well, this is all about momentum. Carrying momentum, especially at a track like this, is so key. Going through the Schumacher S's, again, utilise all of that track available. You see there, going over the curb, straight back down it. You've got to be committed here, because if you don't, then that's when it goes wrong. Full commitment here is absolutely necessary.
Yeah, when you first drive these GT3s, you get to the Schumacher S and you think, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. You have to get there. You have to be full throttle. If you lift, you're going to lose a lot of time. And also, speaking about losing a lot of time, Alex Gao just throws a 152.380, 2/10 faster than anybody at the moment. Nobody on the track at the moment, but I think is going faster. Stuart Reynolds might be a man that could get up there. He was a 53 flat. He puts it at 52.477. Now, what about Sean Campbell? He comes across the line. He comes across the line and puts a 52.911. Last more qualifiers coming. Alex Bennett is the last man I think could do something. 2 purple sections, but it just wasn't working for him. Can he get anything with the final bit? He comes across the line. Where is he? He's a 152.470. Just takes the front row away from Reynolds by 7,000th of a second. And that is a good little finish there. I believe that is everybody. Look at that, the top 3. We said that for the top 3 for the Pro-Ams and the top 3 for the top 5 really for the AMs, bar the leader. Look how close it is. This is promising to be a very interesting race at the start of the season.
It absolutely is. Very, very true indeed. And I think, again, realistically, we've got to make sure, and drivers have got to make sure that, whether they got the qualifying they want or not, that is a different story, obviously. That's completely up for them to decide. Got to make sure, though, put it behind. If you didn't have a particularly good qualifying, put it behind you, move forward, crack on. You've got to make sure that you keep a good, strong mindset when it comes to this sort of driving style and this sort of racing. 75 minutes, as you say, it's getting on for what would be considered possibly an endurance, especially if it's a single driver event. Couple that with the 2 mandatory pit stops. There's a couple of different strategies you can play into it as well. Do you get the pit stops done nice and early? There's lots of different things that you can play here. So we may see, I'm sure we're going to see these tactics come out. Again, this is a great opportunity to, sort of get the feelers out a little bit for each of the drivers to eye up their competitors, as it were, to see where people are strong in certain places, where they might be a little bit off pace in others, and it's for everyone to decide, really.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it is really, it's the first day of school, the freshers week, if you're used to the university
freshers
life.
Week.
Freshers week. Yeah, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Get to know people. because at the end of the day, it's league racing, and everyone always says the league racing is probably the best racing you'll get when you're doing sim racing. And these guys and girls have to stay with each other for the next 10, 11 weeks. And really, you don't want to make enemies. You want to make friends. And of course, I think everybody here is going to have a good time. So qualifying is wrapped up. I believe we'll be going to it. We will be going to another session for the race because they've got to split everybody. Because it's very interesting to see. I just want to point that out again. Frederick Doy, 153.474, fastest amateur. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people slower than him that is not an amateur. That is a lap by Frederick there. And I think that just says so. He may have just put down the standard. But a 153.474, like we were saying, 5 tenths faster than the next driver. That was a lap and a half for an amateur driver. So I'm really looking forward to see what the 35 can do there. But it is going to come down to a lot of these battles. And we were talking about the variety in the Pro-Ams and the AMs. A lot of Lamborghinis. I'm seeing a lot of Italian in the standings for the pros, which isn't an issue. I'm all a fan of the Italians, but it just goes to show what some of these drivers feel comfortable with.
Yes, very true indeed, as you say. It's, people have got to be comfortable with the car that they are in, and that's the other thing. If you are comfortable, you will naturally, you'll perform better. It's pretty much a given, to be perfectly honest. Not all of the time. You can be comfortable in the car and not quite have the pace that you initially think, but I'm sure most of the drivers here, this is all a learning experience as well, especially if this is one of the, people jump in, this may be their first series, or, they haven't been iRacing or haven't been racing for a little bit and they're just coming back in. Again, this is a perfect series because you've got several different classes. You've got a variety of different people to race with, both. Actually, to be fair, it's good. There's good traffic management opportunities that you can practice as well. So many different things that you can practice here. Again, absolutely fantastic to be able to see it there as well. We're just going to have to see again how it all sort of pans out, but this is a very good learning experience for drivers. They get the first week out of the way. They've got a bit of leeway for them to make any sort of adjustments to whether it's the base setup and how they adjust the setup or how they develop and drive the car itself, because obviously that's naturally a very, very big thing to look at. So, this is such a valuable session. It's not necessarily just a let's go and have a bit of a race, have a bit of a laugh, but you've got an opportunity to understand the car as well and understand how it all starts to work and really, possibly even, get the advantage on your competitors.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things as well about the series is it's a league that isn't following an iRacing official, iRacing official schedules or anything. So it's not like these guys can just go and hey, I'm using that setup because I'm just doing this GT3 race, this sprint. I can use that setup. You may have them, but of course, the key thing as well was since the update last week, all setups were basically just wiped. You had to really tweak setups to get them working. So for a lot of these drivers, they are starting clean, and everybody's starting clean, full stop. So the setups are going to be crucial. But of course, sometimes it's not the machinery, it's the person running the machinery. So you can have the best setup in the world, but if you can't hit those apexes, you're going to see that you're going to start to suffer. So I am looking forward to that. I am looking forward to see what drivers can do. I know some of these drivers like to do some interesting things with their setups and just go a little bit crazy, but we'll wait and see. By the way, as well, as we know, Race Anywhere is the host of the series. But of course, shout out to our other sponsor, of course, which is Sim3D. Designed by sim racers for sim racers. Button boxes, rumble motor kits, and also other sim racing peripherals, all 3D printed. They are a fantastic company to go and see. And I believe we will be shortly going over to the new race session as everything is getting ready.
Yes, absolutely. It's not too far away, is it? And then, as you say, we will be getting ready to go and make our way out on circuit for what is going to be a very, very interesting race. I think we may take a few moments break in a moment while we do get that all changed over. But again, we'll just wait for confirmation that we are able to then change over, and then we will be away and come back in a brief few moments. So, like I said, while we get confirmation on that, I mean, realistically, again, from your perspective, Craig, what are your sort of what are your initial things? I suppose again, really, it's it's very, very hard for us to actually have any sort of predictions here because we haven't really seen anyone race.
No, we haven't seen all these drivers race. I have seen other drivers race, of course, in previous seasons. I've seen drivers race just out in general races on the sim. But it's one of those things where it's you're looking for certain things, and then you just have to go back to your knowledge. What do you expect to see? So, what do we expect to see when we come to the Nurburgring? What we're expecting, of course, we're looking at one of those incidents with the late braking and the deep braking to turn one hard hack. We're looking at the possibilities side by side at Mercedes Arena, the high speed as well. What happens going down to the Dunlop hairpin? What happens at that chicane? Remember, it's the fast chicane, not the GP chicane as well. So you're looking at all these places. You're looking at these overtaking spots, and you're also looking at what's the safest places to go? What's the danger points to go? Of course, you won't see anybody going 2x2 at the Schumacher Esses. If you do, I might lose my voice. I'm just pre-warning you there. I don't think we'll see that, but there are a lot of overtaking opportunities here. I do call this, I know it's not a multi-class, I call this one of the best and challenging tracks for multi-class racing, just because of how close it is. And when you think about it, technically it is multi-class with pro-am, and amateur. So what are we going to see? Because they are not like forced to let a different class go by, but at the same time, if you're battling, it's you just got to be careful. So we're going to take a break while we just start to load up here. I'm really looking forward to this because Nurburgring's a fantastic track. We'll be back very shortly with the race. 75 minutes of the Nurburgring GP coming up shortly. Welcome back as we are getting ready for the race to start. There's just a few more seconds left in the practice, and then we are going straight into this race. Remember, 75 minutes, 2 pit stops. That is the staple for the Race Anywhere World Series, and it's not just for press day. This is how it's going to be all the time as we look forward to this. We will get an idea of the grid. By the way, in a nice turn. Still the same time of day, still the same day as well. So it's still 22 Celsius. It is still 72 Fahrenheit. Well, of course it would be. It's the same temperature. 60% humidity, though. The humidity has dropped. The humidity is very crucial, just because of just what it can do to the track, what it can do to the tires. But as we start to get ready for the grid, you can just see Alex Gao, followed by Alex Bennett. The two Alexes side by side. Stuart Reynolds will be third. Victor Yawin will be fourth. Nick Madsen fifth. Kaj Hujanot will be sixth. Harley Horton seventh. James Armstrong will be eighth. Sean Campbell ninth. Augusto Calanimi 10th. Max Furtwanger 11th. Frederick Puches 12th. Denny Ratz 13th. Robin Veerman 14th. That is the pros, and then you can just see the pro-ams in the blue. Of course, the pros are the whites, the pro-ams in the blue. The pros, Svenny Matters taking the pole for the pro-ams. Albin Kelberg second. Eric Benson third. Chris Wally fourth, and Will Richardson fifth. You can just see the other names just going down the list as well. Daniel Smegler, Joachim Coe, Tom Dandridge, Stefan Kisgard, Chris Chatterton, Valentin Ambard, Harry Wills, Thomas Reiter, Michael Patterman, Daniel Gilding, and Ethan Bass, who did not set a time. So look out for that. That is the sole Ford in this race. I love saying that because I just think it shouldn't be about, but it is. And then we move to the amateurs in the red, of course. Frederick Doy taking that pole. Fantastic time with James F. Costa beside him. Henning Haig, Mark Bailey, then Ingo Lapsey and Dylan Kinch. Magma Jonlin, and now the drivers start to go. They get a little bit of a time as the rest of the names just come down here. 46 cars as they get ready to go down. They're coming up the hill from Advan into the chicane, the far chicane, the WC chicane. Some drivers getting their tires ready. Other drivers are just happy. They'll be warming up their brakes, and I think that might be crucial. We are about to kick off Season 1 of the Race Anywhere World Series. They have a starting zone they must keep to. And Alex Gao will lead them away for VRS Satellite. The green flag does not indicate go. Here comes the pros. Alex Gao gaps them all, and he will take them away. Alex Bennett will just slide in right behind him, and it's going to be a little bit of a concertina down to the start here. Will we see a clean start by the pros? Almost going 3 wide there, I see. Kaj Huguenot getting caught out there, and then some more. Harley Horton with a fantastic run through the first corner, but that is the pros. What's happening with the pro-amps?
Let's have a look and see. We've actually got a very, very good gap. That is Svenja Mathian that's had a big moment. Oh, Reynolds has gone off. I think that's a moment. We're going to have to see if we can get a replay of that. But let's just see what happens in the Pro-Am category at the moment. It seems to be pretty even Steven. Will Richardson and Daniel Sedgley are having a bit of a battle, bit of a scrap side by side as they go through down into turn 3 for the first time. We're going to transfer back very quickly now to the amateur category as well, and a massive gap between James Costa and Mark Bailey, Dylan Kinch, and that is Maglar Jonland. There's people going off all over the place. We're going to have to definitely have a few replays coming up beforehand. This is Francois Pedral as well, having a bit of a scrap. There's battles up and down already. People are fighting for positions, but you've got to remember, it's only a 75-minute race. Realistically, in one respect, is a bit of an endurance. In another respect, it's very much a sprint. So track position, very, very key if they can keep it.
Yeah, if they can keep their positions, that is important for them. Will Richardson there just trying to keep what he can, and he is just holding on there. You can just see we're going to see a lot of this at the moment. We're going to see quite a bit of this just holding together. There won't be, they'll see a lot of overtaking early on, mainly just because people want to get in control. I always call it a peloton. They want to lead the peloton right here. We're just going to see some replays right here. This is Henning Haig.
These are just people coming out of the pits.
Yeah, they're just coming out the pits there. I was just wondering, Chris Chatterton. That's a nice slow-mo there. Chris Chatterton currently leading the floor. But you can just see it's very chaotic there at the start. You can just see he's having to go a little bit different there, and then just gets tapped there, and everybody goes around. Bit of a free car pile-up as well. But Will Richardson He's losing the back of the pro out the rest of the field. Daniel Smegley is now 1.2 seconds. But that's it as well. Now then, what happened to Yojin Code? Did he also, this is also the same incident. You can see the cars up ahead, but it's really hard to slow down when it happens right in front of you and the slow-mo can't get through. That's a twisted go. Look how many cars trying to get around, and they do get around. So that's fantastic. Now, I just saw Tom Dandridge. Yes, that was Tom Dandridge making an overtake into the first corner, as we was expecting. Some deep braking into the Haghaken, and he does make that overtake stick. So Tom Dandridge moves up the order, but it's pretty much even Stevens at the moment.
It is, as you say, pretty even Stevens at the front of the field, though. Speaking of even Stevens, it's pretty cushy at the front of the field as well. There's a big battle going down in this in the AM category here. So in this sort of like small little train, you've got Francois Pedrao, you've got Magnar Jonland, Simon Chester, Levi Johnson, Edison Mangiera, and Ola Sankvist as well, all within this little bit of a battle here. So a good battle. This is currently now 4P. Actually, realistically, you've got Simon Dodd and Dave Meakin that are now also in this train as well. So, you know, early stage of the race, there's not too many breakaways that we've seen at this moment in time. Again, that could change. We've still got a long way to go in this race, bear in mind. But Simon Chester really sort of in the middle of it at the moment. He's got, obviously, if you look now on board, you can see that just up ahead, he's got Magnar Jonland, but just behind, he's got Levi Johnson. You can just see that in his rear view mirror, little digital rear view mirror in the centre of the dash. So you've got to have eyes quite literally in the back of your head, because any opportunity that these drivers will start to make, or any opportunity that that will present themselves, these drivers will absolutely go and make them. Make no mistake.
Yeah, and of course, following, especially at the places like the Schumacher S we just saw, is very hard there. Of course, that they're having almost coming together there, just at the back of the pro field, where they're side by side going through the arena there. And finally, Augusto keeps that position, but Veerman is looking forward. Look at the late lines. They're going to come together. They come together and they turn around. And Denny Rex is going to be there. They are the back of the pro field. They're going to come together. That was a very ambitious. I think Veerman wanted to go for that. And also, crucially, I see a bit of wing damage to the back of Veerman's Porsche here. The 42 is not looking good. But at the same time, they just allow Denny Reitz to just get on by there. So that is unfortunate. Meanwhile, we see some more side-by-side. Will Richardson is currently battling at the moment. Can he make a move? Well, he does make a move on Tom Dandridge. That's a very nice move. That's how you do it, boys. And Tom Dandridge now in a battle with Valentin Ambard. Side by side, they do around Valentine into fourth. They're just side by side, but Dandridge gets pushed wide. He's on the outside there. He's going to lose it. Momentum should be with Amblad, but they are side by side coming down into the Dunlop curve. Now, can Dandridge do this around the outside? He's going to try and do this around the outside. They're going to touch. They're going to touch, and I think that was Valentine just getting a little bit washed up there. Dandridge loses a couple positions. Look how tight it is right now between everybody here. Massive little group of 4-5 cars right here. Call it 4 cars. Ethan Bass is just at the back there, and that is looking really tight at the moment with Thomas Reiter here. He's seeing it all at the back. He can see these 3 cars, and he's thinking, oh, maybe not. And just a quick note on the amateurs. Frederick Roy, not here, unfortunately. It looks like computer or internet issues. He did not take the start, so the leader of the amateurs not here, unfortunately.
A bit of a shame, isn't it? Definitely not what you want. This is actually a move. Ingo Lapsian goes up the inside of Olga Sankvist. Good move indeed. Very well placed in terms of car position. So good stuff. A lot we like to see. We've got battling all the way up and down the field, which is exactly what we want. That's had, I think, Augusto Katiami has actually come into the pits for some reason. Not entirely sure why. James Armstrong has had a bit of a moment. Let's see what happened here. Is it going to be a touch of the grass? It might very well be. Actually, it might just be coming onto the brakes, possibly. I tell you what, no, it was actually iRacing thinking that was an incident when it wasn't, when they went slightly wide out of turn 2. Ignore me. We will swiftly move on from that. Harry Wills is working his way up. He's currently still, obviously, in P13, the pro class, but he's P19 overall, having made 7 positions. So, you know, we're going to have to see how he goes in terms of actual pace compared to Danny Ritz, who's currently at the back of the main train. From the Pro-Am category.
I think you'll find he's a pro. Oh, Harry Wills a pro, is he? Okay,
pro, sorry, apologies.
Yeah, he's showing Pro-Am for me.
He's definitely a pro.
Yeah, must check that. Do wonder what's happening there, but he's given the respect as well of Amblad as well, but he's in this little group here. You can just see He is struggling. I think he is a pro. I don't know what he's done. It's his league. He can do what he wants sometimes. But he's in this group. Like I said, the Schumacheresses, look at it. Now they brought Ethan Bass in. That Ford is going to be a little bit dangerous. I mean, some of the changes they did with this Ford, it was probably bigger changes than any other car in the GT3s. Is what they did. A few changes as well, suspension, geometry, and everything, including the tires here. So the Ford really does have a new bit of life. This old girl keeps on going. He's really at the back of this little train we're looking at, just keeping it calm, cool, and collective. But this at the front, though, that is the front of the Pro-Am, sorry, that is Svenny Matters. And he's got two cars keeping him company. And it's the same two that was almost close with him at the start of the qualifying. That's Albin Kelberg and Chris Wally. What can they do? I think it's just going to be in these guys. I'm just going to listen out. No lifting at the moment to save fuel, but I think that's what we may see as all three of these are starting to just pull away from the rest of the group.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen sooner or later. You're going to get people that are going to start fuel saving. I think realistically it's going to be a necessity as well at some point. Dylan Kinch may have a moment going up on the inside of Mark Beatty. This is for second step on the podium. It's going to be up the inside for the Lamborghini. Does he make it stick? At the moment he does. Mark Beatty can't quite drive it round the outside. So that is a position gain there for Dylan Kinch, the number 31 Lamborghini for Tiki Simsport. Good move indeed. They're very calculated, very controlled. Fair play as well to Mark Beatty for leaving that racing room as well. Biding time, I think this is also good. We're seeing people, they are racing, but at the same time, they're not racing overly aggressively. Taking it in their stride, I think these drivers are, which is also very, very good. It's very nice to see. Pro-Am category, though, that is definitely hotting up because this battle here, it's not... I know we're only 10 minutes into the race. Let's keep that into account. But at the moment, this is still... this is very much anyone's game. Harley Horton leading this train at the moment as we're now riding on board for Full Turn Racing in the number 20. And we see the profile picture there. It looks like a Ginetta G40, I believe, as well. So some real-world experience from Harley Horton there, I think.
Oh, that looks a fantastic little car there. That's fantastic. But he's driving the Lamborghini at the moment for Full Send. And that is what he's doing. He's just holding off James Armstrong here. He's a stalwart as well. Some of the best moments in the World Series coming from James Armstrong. And I expect to see the same later on for the RLR Abruzzi Esports team. This is definitely going to be a bit of fuel saving by these guys. You can see Armstrong, he could make the move if he had the slipstream. He could, but at the moment, I think he's happy enough with that little bit of damage to the back of that car. I think he's happy to just stay here. Cas Huguenot is right behind him as well. And Sean Campbell in that BMW, they're rivals. They're rivals. It's like the El Clasico. It's like Federer and Nadal. It's like, I wouldn't say Ali Fraser, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. Those two, they've had some fantastic racing, and I'm really hoping we see that during the season. Sean Campbell's got a great view of what's happening at the moment. And do I think Armstrong will go for a move here? No, and again, early braking. He's just going to hold on, but he sees the mistake there from Horton and thought I could put my car in there, but there's not a big enough gap at the moment. So, again, there is about, a second between P5 and P8 overall in the pros, and it's these guys at the moment. Horton, Armstrong, Huguenot, Campbell.
Indeed, it is. So, just going through, apologies, we were talking about the pros, and we were on screen. We had the AMs. There was a bit of a battle on screen for the AM category as well. And I think, looking at it through, it's getting very, very close to Thomas Reiter and Ethan Bass as well. And Ethan Bass actually did pass. Let's have a quick look at that on the replay. Getting down into turn one. Nice to see the Ford running. It has got a fair bit of damage, unfortunately, on the front of the car. But a position nevertheless. That moves Ethan Bass up into P7 in the Pro-Am category. Fantastic stuff. Really good and exactly what we want to see. We have had a few cars that have, unfortunately, Frederick Deroy, we've been told as well, had an internet failure, which is never ideal. So commiserations to Frederick there. It's not nice, especially when it's out of your control. It's almost better in a way when you've got a when you've got something that happened and it's almost your fault, isn't it? I'd rather have that almost than if it were something that was out of my control.
Yeah, I've been there before. We've all been there before. I've had power cuts before. I've had the internet drop. I've even closed the sim down myself. It's never fun. His only saving grace is that it's press day. Yes. So for him as well, being press day, it just allows him, you don't have to worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. Just keep it calm. So we've got an old battle here. This is an old battle between two teams. It's VRT versus Team Slow-Mo, the BMW of John Hassan, and he is behind Mark Vale in that VRT. And again, he isn't close enough to go for these late moves or these late sends. But of course, remember, we're almost 15 minutes into the race. You don't really want to go for a deep send at the moment. You want to just pace yourself. And at the moment, we're looking at 40 laps overall. I'm going to predict it may come down to 39 once we've had the 2 pit stops. But that just gives you an indication of how long they're going to be out here. It is going to be, well, really, when you think about this with how quick how long the lap times are, this probably is a bit of an endurance, a bit of a hike. Almost 2-minute laps around here for the drivers. So they've got to hold. They've got to really just keep it clean. They've got to keep their mentality. It's a long time. Well, 75 minutes may not sound a long time, but then drive a 2-minute track that's so complicated. A lot of braking, a lot of blind apexes, a lot of corners you don't know where, a lot of exits that you can't see. The full speed Schumacher-esque right here that you've got to make sure you don't make a mistake, or otherwise you'll have a slowdown. It is tough for these drivers. It is a real good test of fortitude. So can they hold on? They have done 14 minutes, just another 61 minutes to go.
It's actually gone quite quickly, to be perfectly honest, hasn't it? I don't know about you, but it's gone really quite quickly for me. Chris Wiley is in the pits, the first person to pit. So whether that's damage induced or not, I don't think it should be. I don't remember seeing Chris Wiley in any incidents, but we'll have to see. We are just being told on the broadcast as well that Augusto Cassiami saying car steering broke due to contact. So I believe that would be why. So not ideal there as well for Augusto, who's currently having some repairs done. I believe at this moment in time, Ethan Bass, another move around the outside going through turn 2. Oh my goodness, is he going to make it stick? Oh, it's close. But Valentin Amblad manages to keep it up, but that means that Ethan Bass is going to be in the inside. What a move. That was set up about 3 corners ago, right the way into turn 1. Ethan Bass is on an absolute flyer in that Ford. He's currently sitting in the top 5.
And he started at the back. And he's just made a move around the outside. He started a move around the outside at the start of Mercedes Arena in a Ford GT3 with the front pushed in. And he's on the back of Harry Wills. Like, this isn't the meme. Everyone will probably say the Ford was a bit meme. It's a bit of a fun car, and we've had it before. What are you driving the Ford for? No, look at him. Look at him. He loves this car. He drives the GT2 version as well when it comes to the GT Challenge. He drives that as well. So this is almost like his baby. And he knows the ins and outs of this car. And already, when I started talking, he was a second behind Harry Wills. He's gained 4 tenths, now down to 3 tenths. Now back to 4 tenths. He's gained a lot of time on Wills right here. And he can catch up here. And I'm not going to lie, I don't think he's just going to stay behind that Mercedes. I think he's going to go for a move. And Harry Wills, look at that slide! Did I just see Harry Wills flip the grass?
Valentin Amblad has gone off. Valentin Amblad has gone off.
And Amblad, though, yeah, went off. I think he just caught the grass, though, didn't he? Yeah, caught the grass. Too much of the inside. Oh, he caught the curb. Just too much there. And he's having to wait for a free spot. And there is no free spot in the moment. You're seeing Henning Haig right here. Oh, that was Henning Haig, sorry. And this is Amblad. There you go. Yeah, clipped the curb. And that was it, unfortunately. So Harry Wills survived by clipping the grass and doing a very nice save, but Valentin does not. And by the way, Chris Wally is still not out of the pit, so I think that's some damage. He is now out of the pit, but must have been damaged because he's right at the back now of the field.
Not ideal, especially this early in the race, but as we have said before, it is the press day, so it doesn't mean all too much. James Costa, actually, we haven't spoken about him for a while, currently leading the AM category in the number 83, and it was actually, I believe, a last-minute entry as well, was James Costa, and he's currently leading by 3.5 seconds. So, doing quite well, I think, is James Costa in that number 83. You've got Dylan Kinch, obviously, who had that little bit of a battle as well earlier on with Mark Bailey. The lap times, pretty respectable, like very, very close in terms of the last lap times, around about 3 or 4 tenths in it. You can just see the Lamborghini of Dylan Kinch just in the back of shot that's just gone out there. So, that is a battle that may start to develop. It does depend on how much pace that Dylan Kinch currently has in that car. We'll have to see how that develops. Simon Dodd has actually made a move. I think that could very well be due to... yes, that was actually... Simon Dodd has made a... did make a position on Valentine Amblard. Obviously, that was because Amblard had that small excursion off going through the last chicane. But again, battle's starting to open up here. There's a couple of breakaways. One of the main ones we've actually seen is Alex Gall and Alex Bennett, the two Alexes. There we are. So there are they, currently both leading, or P1 and P2 respectively, in the pro category. And then Victor Yowan is 3 seconds behind, whether that's because of tyres, fuel saving, possibly tyre wear. The last lap times don't particularly look too dissimilar. So I wonder now if it's just starting to settle. We've seen Gall and Bennett really, really push at the moment. They've broken that gap. Are they now going to start to settle down?
Yeah, I mean, they might settle down. And I think as well, one of the things as well that's going on is you got to think back, Victor Yowan and Nick Madsen, they've been battling for quite a while. As well as here, they're just having a little battle behind them as well. Harley Hawes and James Armstrong, they're also battling. So it does feel to me like their battling has cost them a chance of going through and trying to catch up to those in front, the two Alexes. So be interesting to see. Really, is it going to help or hinder them at the moment? But Nick Madsen there for the HM Engineering, that very lovely Ferrari. It's just holding on to the back here. Pony was always nicer, and I think that's what he could be looking for at the moment. Damage limitation. If the other two have gone too far ahead, maybe get that P3. But he's in a battle now with Victor Yowan and Harley Horton trying to catch up here. But the gaps outside really of the top two, the gaps everywhere around the pro field are so close. Everybody's in slipstream range of everybody else. 0.4, 0.9, 0.8, 0.2, 0.9. It's looking really close at the moment. It is a very elongated train in the pros, but that's what they want. They want to try and save a bit of fuel. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing right now is 20 minutes have gone. I'm going to say we're going to see another 10 minutes. 5 minutes, I think, is when when it will start to come the pit window. But Daniel Gilding here making a late move there. And a nice little move there for the Nomad driver. Can he hold on to it? He does hold on to it. Lovely cut up there to just take that line away. Brilliant from Daniel Gilding. But back to Nick Madsen here. You're not missing anything. Madsen is just holding on. I think it's just going to stay like this for a while. I can't see Madsen making a move.
Not at the moment, as you say. Biding time's always ideal. It's it's what you want to do. You've got to play the long game here. Realistically, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. What the hell am I talking about? It's not going to happen straight away. You've got to, as you say, bide your time, because you really need to. First off, you need to understand where these moves are, and also, like we were saying about Levi Johnson, possibly with a bit of a lunge, decides against it though. On Francois Pedrao is to be fair, actually Pedrao goes a little bit wide. So that will allow Levi Johnson to catch back up a margin, very, very marginally. At the front, though, what is happening here? This is the battle for the lead. This is the battle for the lead in the Pro-Am category. Sven-Jonas Mathian and Albin Kjellberg are really having a bit of a battle with Mathian getting very, very loose on that gravel going through the exit, the Schumacher S's. We see that Kjellberg is pushing a lot of pressure now onto the back of Mathiesen. And I wonder if this is a calculated pressure here. Just trying to see where possibly, well, really, I think Albin, at this moment in time, is just seeing where he can try and force the mistake, I think, on Sven-Young Mathiesen. Because realistically, do you want to do this maybe just before the actual pit stop itself to see if you can get the track position and try and make a bit of a gap? Again, we don't know. There's so many different ways you can approach this, and we're not really going to know until the very, very end.
I'm wondering really, is he pushing now the limit there on Svenning to almost force him to consider an early pit stop, or is he doing this because he wants to take an early pit stop? For all we know, he may have not filled up full, and he may be on lighter fuel. We don't know. All different permutations you can do. You don't have to start with 50% fuel, so who knows what they're starting on. So that could be the reason. But these two so far ahead at the moment of the rest of the field, and you've just got to start questioning, what could they do? What could they do? Kjellberg there. That last lap, a 154.555 and a 154.611 for Mattis there. So it is very interesting to see what they can do. But elsewhere as well, there you've got Henning Haig just holding on as well. It's starting to just spread out a little bit in some areas, but the front of these fields, they're looking so close at the moment. I think we do see some names going down the order as well. Mark Bailey's had a big accident, though. Not sure what's happened there, but Mark Bailey is heavily damaged. And there you see the replay. And
it just goes a bit worse, doesn't it?
It just goes from bad to worse. And I always say there's no glass on the back of that Ferrari engine, and that to me just says that car's done. So I think that might be Bailey out the race, but he's got it back, and we'll just see it right now. It's side by side. Oh, he just turns in. Yeah, just turns in, and that's unfortunate there for Mark. And I think then the result as well afterwards probably did not help him. Rejoining there is not very handy, and I think, yeah, that may have just caused it. Yeah, there it goes, straight in, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that was the number 27 of, I believe that was Francois Pedral, so that was why Pedral got in that little bit of an incident. So, yes, not ideal, but at the same time, yeah, we're going to have to, obviously, we'll have to look back on that as we move forward. I think it was just a little bit too aggressive. Harry Wills now going around. Ethan Bass is pressuring Harry Wills now. Look at that, round the outside of the last corner. Does that Ford go? Oh, wow, Ethan Bass really knows how to drive that car, doesn't he? Harry Wills has to concede. And Ethan Bass is on an absolute fly. He's got 6.2 seconds between himself and Daniel Sedgley. I mean, there's absolutely no reason at all why that gap can't come down. Bear in mind, his last lap, Ethan was battling with Harry Wills and was trying to get him around the outside. He was still 0.3 a lap quicker than Daniel Sedgley. All this could be, do you know what? I wouldn't even put it back that Ethan Bass might be on for a podium here.
You know what? I'm going to knock on wood right here, and I've got no wood, so I'm knocking on my head. I think he could. I think he's looking really strong right now. He's having a really good race. Well, so are these guys at the front. The two Alexes, Alex and Alex, very interesting. Alex Gow and Alex Bennett. They're holding their own at the moment. Like we were thinking, not a lot going on at the moment for these two. It is just a case of holding on. But look at the gaps as they start to push away. They're 2-3 faster than the rest of the pros. And then you've got Madsen and Horton behind them. They're 4 seconds behind. And by the way, Madsen did get past Horton. He did make that move. So, or should I say Victor Yowen as well, just going back as well. So you can just see these three now all just bunched up a little bit. Horton losing out there. But he's got some help from the other Comrade Gaming car of Kaz Huguenot right behind him. So it's all going on. And it just means that the two old rivals of Sean Campbell and James Armstrong are right next to each other. Oh, I've missed that. I've missed seeing those two battle, but that's one at the back of the field. But really, we should be paying attention to this very tight battle at the front of the field. It's Harley Horton trying to get past Nick Madsen, and Victor Yowen is right behind, looking on to my favorite part of the track, really, as they come down to Velveteen into Ford, taking in third, break, and then taking into second. It's such a free-throwing set of corners there. One of my favorite parts of the track, and Madsen gets the better of that as he starts to just pull away a little bit from Horton. But it's just the margins right now as we're starting to think, I think the pit window is officially open.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people come into the pits, as you can see. We've got Eric Betson, James Costa is in the pits from the lead of the AM category. This is the now or never time to make your first pit stop. You've got to be calculated again with it. You can't just push the car and deliberately try and make it think, what has happened here, though? Because that, I think, may have been a small little off track for Cass Huguenot. He may have gone off. You know what? I'm not actually 100% sure.
I know Harley Horton did. Harley Horton just had to slow down. He let Yowen go by, so that was a slowdown going up the Schumacher S's for Horton. Did not see it about Huguenot, but Huguenot is right behind right now, and it's not going well for Harley in that full send Lamborghini at the moment. He's lost a couple positions. He started 7th. He got off as high as 4th, but he's all the way down now.
Yeah, as you say, that was just a bit of a shame. Yeah, as you say, Harley Horton may have picked that up, possibly. I'm trying to think where he would have picked that up, to be perfectly honest. Maybe going on the exit of actually turn 4. It might have been all the way down there. I really don't know because I'm that's quite new to me in terms of a position there. I could be wrong. I could have been picked up at another particular place. Again, that's a bit of a send for Henning Haig. Wowzers, that was very good. Magda Jodland, he tried to obviously defend that position to a certain extent, but I think he realised that Henning Haig was going through so fast, he was going to have to let the position back whether he wanted to or not. So very much an overtake that was forced definitely there by Haig, but manages to make it stick in that 79 team slow Mo car. So that is him up into P6th in the AM category, P29 overall. Yes, now drivers starting to come into the pits. This is where we're going to see the order jumble up for a few moments, and then it will go back down to normal once everyone's done their pit stops. Ideally, you want to be running, generally 9 times out of 10, you want to be running, pretty much as quick as, well, you want to be running as long as you can possibly go, to be perfectly honest. I think that's going to be, that's one of the main key things here, is you don't want to pit too early. You always want to try and, if you can, just run the fuel till it's dry and run the tank till it's dry, because that you then know that you're going to get the absolute maximum out of your car, and it will also mean you'll be able to travel a further distance. Not too much of a problem for this first stop, but the second stop, the further you travel, the less fuel you have to put in.
I've always said when it comes to these 75-minute races, we can't really predict what's going to happen until we see that final pit stop. Because you'll think that 2 or 3 guys battling at the front, grouped up together, you think that they would be the guys that come out first, and then there's a guy right behind them that's been fuel saving so much that once everyone's done their pit stops, he's out ahead of them, and then it really comes down to a battle of pace. So that's what we're looking for. We're going to keep our eyes on the pit stops, because as well, one thing that people may make a slip up on is they may accidentally tick the tires. That is the big no-no, and the tires, of course, will give you 20 to 40 seconds extra in the pits. I think 20 really, but that is it. You can see the leaders of the 3 classes at the top. The white, the pro, which is Alex Gal. The pro-am in the blue, which is Kjellberg. And of course, then you've got Dean Timms currently leading the fray in the pro-ams for Eclipse. So not talked a lot about Dean Timms, but he's had it very quiet. And I think as well, with a lot of the drivers taking their pit stops, I think he's there. Well, he's there on merit, but he's also there just because he's not taken a pit stop yet. Mats Furtwängler at the moment just going around. It's a very quiet there at the moment. He's bubble racing. It's probably the best thing and the worst thing to be doing when you're in a 75-minute race is to bubble race. You're not around anybody, but yeah, it's not where you want to be.
No, not really. You've got to be... I always prefer racing with someone. I always prefer actually having someone just there. Whether they're in front of me and behind me, I just prefer having someone. I just find it just helps me perform a little bit better. Alex Bennett's had a moment. What's happening here? This is going down into turn 5. Just tipped the grass, and unfortunately, I thought he was going to hold it then, but unfortunately for the Comrade Gaming number 10 Lamborghini, couldn't quite make it stick. Has lost, that's a good 3 or 4 positions, unfortunately. Some of those may be out of class, though, so that is something to bear in mind.
Sorry to interrupt, but he's just gained a couple of those places back because a lot of the pro drivers have come in. Gal's come in, Madsen's come in, Yowin's come in, Horton, Campbell, Armstrong. Everybody but Bennett and Huguenot have pitted. Even Furtz, we were just talking about Furtwängler there as well. Does Frederick come in as well? So everybody but the top, but second and third come into the pits. And of course, Alex.
Oh no! What has happened?
No.
I'm sorry to have cut in there. Sorry to have cut in there, Craig. But I think, do you know what? Obviously we know that one of the cars involved was Alex Bennett. So there he now maintains. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to see who that was, and I'm trying to see what actually happened because I really, really don't know. It all happened. Seemed to be happening so fast.
It was David Meakin, an amateur driver, a lapped car down. It wasn't a lap car, sorry, and he just out of nowhere he tapped him. I think there was a miscommunication. He thought he was going around the outside, and he wasn't. Are we getting a replay of that? We may get a replay of that, but it was a very weird moment. Just entering the Mercedes arena, and it was just, here we come with the replay. You can just see at the back there. That's when he's been pushed wide already, and you can see the VRT right there, just catching him off. So this is Bennett when he starts the lap. You can just see he's with his teammate. and they're just going to be riding together. Nothing out of the unordinary. They're riding together. They see a car just coming, just there. You see a couple of cars coming out the pits. Everything's looking fine. And there is an amateur driver there, David Meakin, and he sees his teammate going around. He thinks, I'm going to get around here, and Meakin... I think Meakin just lost control of the car there. I think the car just went a bit of understeer there and just couldn't turn it. And that's unfortunate there.
Yeah, I mean, that camera was a bit deceiving, I think. It may have possibly. I mean, again, we're not, obviously, we're not the stewards. We are entitled to our opinion, as is everyone. It just looked possibly, I don't know if Alex Bennett, he is having to come in for some repairs by the looks of it. Oh, no, actually, no, he's not made a pit stop. So both Cass Huguenot and Alex Bennett, the two Comrade Gaming drivers, are coming into the pit lane together. I wonder if that camera, it may have been, as you say, a bit of miscommunication. Alex Bennett thought he had more room than he initially did, and then he tried to obviously cut in to take the normal racing line, thinking that the coast was clear. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Not ideal, but at the same time, it was innocent. There was no, it's nothing that really could have been. It's just one of those racing incidents. I think, well, not racing isn't necessarily, but there was possibly at fault. But at the same time, one of those things, it all happens so fast, and some of the time as well, you find that it tends to happen, and by the time it's already happened, you still haven't processed what has just happened. It can be, I've been in that situation myself in both sides, and you are equally frustrated either way, I think.
Yeah, you never want to be the one that causes one of the top runners to get out, and you never want to be one of the top runners who ruin your own race by doing that. It's unfortunate. You can just see Alex now has a 5-second lead because, well, that's Alex Gal, sorry, because Alex Bennett, he's had to take a little bit of repairs. He's had to come out. He's now behind Sean Campbell and James Armstrong just because of all that, and he's behind them to the point that he's got no slipstream, and he's going to have to work his way back up the pro field if he wants it. But that means he's about, 15, 20 seconds behind where he should be, where he should have been, really, which was at the start of the race, which was right behind Alex Gal, sorry. So Gal now is practically just having a bit of a Sunday drive on a Wednesday night. Just needs to keep himself clean around the lap traffic as he starts to lap people on track now, not just lapping people because they are in the pit. So that's going to be crucial for him. But of course, not all about the pros. The pro-ams as well, they've come in for their pit stops, and Alvin Kelberg is still leading the fray for the pro-ams and, of course, the amateurs as well. So it is a little bit chaotic at the moment. Everyone's still taking their first pit stops. Who is where? You can see, really, it is very, very chaotic when it comes to the towers. It's very multicolored on that timing tower at the moment. It should be a whole load of whites followed by a whole load of blues and a whole load of reds, but at the moment, we're seeing a little bit of a mixture at the front. So that is your leader, Alex Gal, currently, and he's currently got a 5-second lead over the rest of the field.
I think that's been obviously the incident that was taken up by obviously when we had one of the Comrade racing cars. That was obviously a godsend to Alex, because he knows that obviously that's one less car he's going to have to worry about possibly in the later stages of the race. Pretty much everyone now has made their first pit stops, and only a couple of people have made 2 pit stops, Henning Haig being one of them. So Henning Haig may be able to go now to the very, very end of the race. We'll have to see. Bit of a battle on track, though, here. This is between Simon Chester and Ola Sandqvist. I wonder if this is going to... I think Ola Sandqvist actually did indeed pass. Let's just have a quick replay on this and see where the move was made coming out of the pits. Interesting enough. So Simon Chester, you'd think, would have the advantage. He's got some warm tyres, but Ola Sandqvist really, really pushed it and managed to obviously get some possible heat into the tyres nice and early. Very, very wide line there for Simon Chester. Not entirely sure what's going on. May have just misjudged his braking distance ever so slightly. So, yes, there we are. Ola Sandqvist manages to maintain that position, which is very, very difficult to do. Like I said, when you've got cold tyres, we see a bit of a cutback here from Simon Chester, and this is where we just picked them up as they were coming through. So, good stuff indeed from both of these drivers. Again, good, fair, clean racing, which is exactly what we like to see. We'll have to see if any more positions are going to happen that way. James Armstrong versus Sean Campbell. These are still better. Well, Sean Campbell goes a tad wide. That's going to cost him a 10th, which is all but crucial, especially when you're going down into the longer straight. An opportunity where you can actually gain a bit of slipstream. And obviously Sean Campbell did lose out a little bit of time on that. James Armstrong is very committed. A bit too committed, though. He was too committed, and Sean Campbell goes, thank you very much. Oh, it might be in the wall. Oh, my goodness. How on earth did that miss the tyre barrier going into the pit? Wowzers. I mean, James Armstrong has gone through... whether he's going to try and reverse out, that's a bit naughty, but he might get away with it. I don't know. The stewards may have to have a look at that. There we are. That was an interesting prospect, wasn't it? That could have gone a lot worse.
Could have gone worse than it was, and he's waiting for the rest of the drivers to go by, and he's going to be behind 2 Pro-Ams. How that car never hit the wall, I don't know. I just don't know. It's magic. By the way, a shout out, James Armstrong, always carrying the helmet of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And I always like to say good evening, Ma, when I see his helmet. And I forgot all about it when I saw him reversing. I just realized that, and I thought to myself, that's very weird. That's Her Majesty reversing a Lamborghini. Shouldn't be happening. But no, James Armstrong, I think he had the luck on his side there for that moment, but unfortunately loses out. And yeah, just that's the fast chicane for you. That's the WEC chicane for you. It is unforgiving. You can take so much speed there, but you then have to be careful not to cut it too hard or take too much. You hit the bumper, and he spun again, by the way, James Armstrong. James Armstrong's had another spin, and he might collect the wool. He collects the wool in the grass, and that was just ice for him. I think he has towed the car. He has. But we're looking at Daniel Gilding right now. He's battling Ethan Bass. Yeah, I don't think he's going to do it, though, because Ethan, he has lost that position to Harry Wills. But I think he can get it back. I think Ethan may have taken a little bit of repairs on the front there. I say that the front still looks very bent in, so might have thought about it, but he might have also taken a bit more fuel. Again, we don't know. We can only look at the times and just consider maybe they've done plan A, maybe they've done plan B. And at the moment for him, it was plan Y. Y for plan Yeet, because he caught on to Harry Wills once before. He overtook him once before. I'm sure he can do it again.
We'll have to see how it develops. The gap is about 9/10 of a second at the moment. Do you know what? Interestingly enough, Ethan Bass is only about 2.5 seconds behind Daniel Sedgley in P3. This is not out of the question. I really, really don't think it is. Just have a look. Just have a look at how agricultural that the Ford dashboard looks compared to this modern day counterpart. Ethan Bass goes a little bit wide. That's cost him a little bit of time, but he's still taking 2/10 this lap out of Harry Wills. Crucial time there. It's just on an absolute mission. He really, really is. 40 minutes have gone. And there we have 35 minutes left. So we are over halfway through now. And I wonder if that is going to translate into people now starting to push. They've got through the first half. They've managed to, or almost most drivers have managed to maintain the positions. They've managed to obviously gain possibly a few. Even if you've lost a few, you know, the second half of the race can be very, very different to the first.
Yeah, they've been through 40 minutes now. So they've been through a standard GT3 race on iRacing, but now they've got to go and find some more of their reserve, as now they're into the final 35 minutes, as Daniel was talking about, and it's a different kettle of fish. They've done their 45-minute sprint race. Now they're technically in like a 30-minute sprint race now. And what can they do? Even Bassi isn't gaining at the moment, but Harry Wills does have that slipstream of Eric Benson in front, but everyone's pulling each other along, and this could be it really when it comes to pit stops later on. So we'll keep eyes on what they do at the pit stop. But again, up the Schumacher S's, think about how the dirty air will affect you. And Daniel Gilding behind in that Nomad Lamborghini, he's thinking, you know, maybe I could get here, and he's being really aggressive with the turning. I love how the Lamborghini can just be so aggressive when it comes through these turns. They call it the Audi 2.0. It's his own little car at the moment. Daniel Gilding just holding the line, but every time I see that dashboard of the Ford, it always scares me. Now, Sean Campbell's having a bit of fun. He's got Alex Bennett for company. Alex Bennett has caught up to him as he's been just chipping away. 2/10 the last lap, probably a couple tenths the lap before. He's now on the back of Sean Campbell, the Conrad Gaming Lamborghini there of Bennett. He's trying to gain some positions. Remember, he was P2 after a couple incidents, though. He's down to P7 now. What can he do? I tell you what, he's not had the best of run. I thought he was going to get a run out of the Ford curve there, but no, he's unable to. I thought he could have tried to make a move into Dunlop, but he's decided, nope, just going to hold back here in that BMW. It does not like the Dunlop curve. I say that from experience. You've almost got to double apex that curve just to make it. But again, up the Schumacher S's goes Bennett. Now I'm just thinking, 33 minutes to go. When does he strike? What can he do? But at the moment, look at that. Nick Madsen, he's in his own little battle right now.
He is. Cas Huguenot and Nick Madsen are having a go. He darts to the outside. We see that Huguenot is covering off the inside there. I don't think there was ever going to be a move there in a million years, but covering off nevertheless. That is... Again, it's nip and tuck between these two. Ferrari versus Lamborghini. You say Ferrari Evo here. This is the first time I've actually commentated on the Evos. So we're going to have to see. I mean, to be fair, they're competitive. Currently running in P1 and P2. They're also leading the Pro-Am category. And they're P3 with Dean Timms in the Am category as well. Oh, that's a bit late. How on earth did Cas Huguenot get that car stopped? Oh my goodness, I will never know. Alex Bennett and Sean Campbell are having a bit of a dive. I wonder if Sean Campbell's going to try around the outside going through turn 2. He's going to have to be brave. He's going to give it a go though. Dabs the brakes just to pitch the weight over to the front to roll the car in. Can't quite do it though through turn 3. He's going to try it again through turn 3 to try and get the inside of turn 4. But Alex Bennett goes, nope, you're not having that as easy. And Sean Campbell then has to settle once again for P7 at this moment in time, but this is the point now where I think Sean Campbell's had enough of sitting behind Alex Bennett and he wants that move sooner rather than later.
Yeah, take that. Lost that position. He tried to fight it around the outside. He's known for it. There is a lot of traffic just up ahead of them. That's a couple lap cars up ahead of them, so they're gonna have to play this careful. It's Chatterton, Chester. There's actually three cars in their own little battle, and then a lap car. Gonna have to play this right now. The thing I call bookmarking, putting a slower car, a lap car, in between you and the guy you are up against at the moment. Bennett may have to rely on that ability right now. He may have to think about, can I get in between Chester and Assen going into the chicane and hold up Campbell? Or can I pinch him? Can I stop him from overtaking me by using these lap cars? And don't think it's going to happen at the moment because, of course, they're the same class, so it's the same speed. But you can just see the difference between a pro driver and an am driver. The pace difference, it's a second and a half. It's 2 seconds. It's quite substantial. And when you've got a lap car like Simon Chester, they're just going a little bit wide there, just missing his braking point. It looks to me this could be interesting. Bennett may get by, but I think he may have allowed Campbell to follow him. Yes, he does. And actually, Campbell's thinking about the double move. And no, he isn't. And he's actually pinched himself. He's going to put himself in there with the car. Yeah. I don't know if the cutback's going to work, though. No, it's not worked. But he is, once again, back in square one. Scene 1, page 1. And he's got to fight for this again.
Indeed, yes, he is. It's going to feel like an eternity when you're in this sort of position because you want the move. You want the move essentially now. You want it soon. You know where you're quicker. You know where you've got the pace, but it's just not materializing for you. It's a very, very frustrating position to be in, and it's something that's actually, again, I've been in that position a few times myself. And it is frustrating. You just got to make sure that you just keep hitting your marks. You put pressure. You might not be able to get the move necessarily in out and outright pace, or especially in a track like this, which can be a little bit tricky to overtake, especially if you know that the Lamborghini's good on the brakes, which it is. So, you've got to just play it another game. You've got to play the the mind games now and try and see if you can actually instead make the move and try and force the mistake. But we have to see. I reckon that Bennett's going to get held up a little bit here as we get more people now coming in for their second round of pit stops. Whoa! Speaking of which, this is actually going to the battle. This is directly in front of the battle that we were just looking at. And unfortunately, that is going to be Johan Assen and Ola Sankvist getting split very, very aggressively by Alex Bennett and Sean Campbell that have now just starting to go through. But now, exactly, look at that. The gap between Sean Campbell, if we're going to go back to the intervals in a few moments, the gap between Campbell and Bennett has really, really closed down once again. So how these, how it all ebb and flows. I like the way that you were saying the bookmarking as well, Craig. I like that. That's a good terminology, I think.
It's just made by myself. It's nothing official, but it's something when I used to do multi-class racing, it was something interesting. You do that. You've got your pinch move, of course. You use a lap car to stop a driver, overtake you. But yeah, the bookmark is so crucial because if we see right now and you think to yourself, Bennett, if he gets ahead of a lap car and Campbell can't do it, and they come through a corner, the pace difference you're looking at half a second. Half a second to a second, it is such a big difference. And then when you get by, you don't have the slipstream. So that bookmarking is going to be crucial. But of course, in a whole single class series, it is tough to do that. So I feel we may see something when it comes to the pit stops, and I think that is happening for a lot there. And you can see another car coming in there. We said a tank of fuel would last about 30 minutes. So some of these drivers are thinking, maybe at 30 minutes, I should just go straight for it. But Thomas Ryder there, just having the time of his life. But behind him is James Costa and Will Richardson. James Costa is going really well in the amateur. They're really leading pretty well as he just lets Will Richardson go through. Richardson trying to catch up to Ryder, but the gap is 2 seconds there Costa's got, is that right? A 13-second gap between him and the next amateur driver? That is some good going there from James Costa.
Dan Gilding.
Dear.
Dan Gilding.
That's a bit of a slide.
Yeah, Dan Gilding's had a moment. I wonder if he got tagged.
He did. No, he didn't. He lost it himself.
On the brakes. So I'm guessing here. So let's have a look. I'm guessing what's going to happen as he goes in. Just a very, very snap of the, maybe a snappy release of the brakes. Yeah, there we go. So what will happen there, and what you tend to find, in sometimes, especially as you go down into turn 1, it drops down the hill a little bit. So this is for anyone as well, if you are looking to go through in terms of going through turn 1. It's a bit of advice. If you do find yourself releasing too early and snapping off the brakes, what happens there? All of a sudden the weight transfers. It pops up off of the front. It then shifts to the rear. And all of a sudden you get that momentum carrying you around, especially if you go down that small little dip. Again, as you're turning, the weight shifts and it really, really snaps you around very, very quickly. And it can happen all of a sudden, as we just saw there. So I would put put a guess as that what happened there. Maybe just a slightly too quick on the release of the brakes, and it just sent the car around. So making sure that you're transferring the weight in a smooth, progressive way is very, very key in any car on iRacing, not just the GT3s, in any car. And it's actually the same for any sim as well. Go to any sim, any GT3 car, on any of the sims that you've got, the principle is the same. Being smooth, controlled on that release of the brakes. You've got to manage the weight. These cars, while they are light, they're not heavy cars, but they were around 1350, 1400 kilos. Maybe even a little bit less nowadays. But, it's still quite a good chunk of weight to actually have to manage about. So you have got to be careful.
Yeah, always got to be careful, especially with these cars as well, with the weight balances. And of course, it goes as well. You've got to find that good point as well, because like we were saying, some of these cars front engine, some of these cars engines right at the back, and other ones they're right in the middle. But Chris Wally here, hello, just having a little bit of fun right now. What can he do in this situation? He's caught between a rock and a hard place at the moment. But Wally is just there with Valentin. The only 2 cars at the moment is the Pro-Am versus the Pro-Am there. Then they're in the middle of all the pro drivers lapping them, which is never fun. Alex Bennett's right behind them, and he's managed to pull away from Sean Campbell some more. Bennett will have to wait a little bit, but Wally just holding to the back here. There's at the back of the Pro-Ams here, but that doesn't matter. Every battle still counts here, and he's just unable to make a move right now. The VRT BMW is just holding back, but they can hear that Lamborghini behind, and it's not a Lamborghini they're fighting. It's a Lamborghini they'll be getting a blue and yellow flag for, which is Alex Bennett. But when you come to Mercedes Arena, there's nowhere really to let him by. And, thankfully, Alex is not flashing. He's not going, let me by, let me by, let me by. He realizes it, and it wouldn't surprise me if Wally decides to just lift a little bit. He's leaving some gap, and I think he may let Bennett go through. No, Bennett holds on. So Bennett, I think, might be doing a little bit of fuel saving, knowing that he can't get a clean overtake on this lap car right now. So keep an eye on that. He's now in better position. I think he may get here. If he gets through right now, he's trying, again, unable to, and lifts, saves some fuel. He's got the gap with Campbell. I think he's got it safe, and maybe he can just go another lap longer, and that could be crucial with 24 minutes remaining.
As you say, 24 minutes. I've just actually Googled while you were chatting there. I was just Googling, and I had a quick look, and I can see that the BMW, the GT4 that we're seeing currently now with Chris Riley driving, it actually weighs 1,250 kilos, so a lot lighter than I thought initially. But nevertheless, it's still a bit of weight to carry about, so you've got to manage that in a controlled way. So the battle between Chris Riley and Valentin Amblard, is that 0.2 of a second? I mean... I wonder if it's going to... I'm trying to think who that is behind. That may actually be, I think, Cass Huguenot. I believe that is. No, it's not. It's completely... It might be Harley Horton. No, it's not Harley Horton as well. It's one of the Lamborghinis. Might even be Alex Bennett, I think. We're going to go final Alex Bennett. And there we go. It's
there
Alex
you
Bennett.
go.
So Alex Bennett splitting those two cars. So that gap is now extended. It's only extended by 1/10 of a second. So... it's not all that much, but bear in mind, Valentin Amblard is a bit of a saving grace there because he got a bit of a toe off of Bennett there, which is always nice. Never going to pass an opportunity like that up. Just scouring further up and down the field, we've had a couple of, again, people still relatively sort of running their own race. You'll find that, again, once the second pit stops, which most people have actually gone through the second pit stops, Frederic Purchase just going a little bit wide, going on the exit of turn 2. That will be an off-track, bear in mind. And there is an off-track, I believe there is a penalty for if you do reach 25 off-tracks. So that's also a key thing to take into consideration. Let's have a look at the off-tracks, in fact. And, let us have a look at Alex Gal. Oh,
Alex, everything okay, Alex?
He's got to be careful.
Okay?
He's got to be careful. 21 and 25 is... I wonder if that's... I mean, he has got a 4.5 second gap, so he can afford to be a little bit more cautious now for the remainder of this race. 20 minutes remaining, bear in mind, not too long at all. But ultimately, 21. I mean, that's. I'm not going to say it. Let's not say it. Just say 21 instant points. That's not a lot to play with, shall we say?
No, and it's 25 for a drive-through. And then it's 30 for a DQ. So once you get that drive through, you haven't got a lot of time. That is really your, come on, buckle up.
Oh!
And is that Reiter just having a little bit of a moment there? It is, and that's Reiter just battling on there with Sven Mattis there. I think he's had a moment somewhere.
Yep.
He's down the order, hasn't he?
Let's have a look. Did he get tagged? Let's have a quick look. Oh, Jink into the outside. Couldn't quite see who that was. Is it going to be contact? I just turned in. Unfortunately, a car was... Oh, as well. Who was that? I think it was Stuart Reynolds getting involved as well. Was that Thomas? I can't quite see who that was. Couldn't quite see the number on that. Yeah, Thomas Wright. I think just gauging... Again, I don't think left enough room. Looked like he cut across just a fraction too much. Again, a small miscalculation on how much room that he had. Very, very easy to do. And so we've all done it at some point, but equally frustrating nevertheless.
Yeah, and now he's just gonna... He's lost a couple positions as well, and literally 2 positions in the Pro-Am, but 3 positions overall. He's now stuck behind the Lamborghini and Sven Mattis there. And what's happened here with Stuart Reynolds? Oh, that's just a rejoin. He got caught up. I think that was Stuart. Yeah, he was the one trying to avoid everybody and just got a tap on there. We'll just see again. I think he just saw it. And this is a scary moment when you're the driver behind. You do see the car and then you see it and where do I go? And that last minute tap and you think, oh, I thought I was clear. But unfortunately it's not the case. So Thomas Reiter will be behind. He's got a good gap between him and the front, so at the back, sorry. So that's going to be fine. But Nick Madsen, he doesn't really have a gap. He's got Cal Huguenot right behind him. Harley Horton has been there. Really good drive from Horton. And Huguenot, all these guys making 3 positions up. But I think now Madsen, he's looking like he wants to defend. There's 19 minutes left. Who's going to blink first? Because last pit stop, everybody came in apart from the 2 Comrade Racing drivers. But they're not together now after what happened with Alex Bennett. Does that mean they will go on a different pit strategy? I'm really looking forward to this because maybe they've saved fuel. We can't tell. We don't know what's going through their minds. If we knew what's going through their minds, I'd be a millionaire right now. But we cannot tell. You can see the sun is starting to set.
The sun is starting to set, actually. That's a fair point. Tim, I keep saying thought there was 10 minutes left to go there. No, 20 minutes left to go. Yeah, the sun is starting to set, although it is still quite cloudy, a bit gloomy in Nurburgring today. But that isn't detracting from the racing at all in the slightest. Again, big thank you to everyone that is still tuning in on the broadcast. It's very much appreciated. We've had an incredible number of people watching this pre-season at Nurburgring. If you do haven't already, please make sure you do like this stream. It helps us out more than you know. And as well, if you could pop a quick subscribe to the channel, that would be absolutely fantastic. Well, we're not too far away from 300 subscribers, which is just an incredible amount of increase in the subscribers that we had, and that is largely, big thanks to Racer and the guys from the RAWS and the RATC. Both Dean and Harry have really helped out with the channel. So, like I said, if you haven't already, we're at 291. 300 maybe a bit of a stretch tonight, but at the end of the day, if you haven't already, please make sure you do consider subscribing so you can keep all up to date, especially with what happens in this series, because this is going to be a hell of a battle this season. Speaking of battles, though, Chris Whaley and Valentin Amblard still nose to tail as well. It's ebbing and flowing up and down as we go. This is one of the closest battles that we've got on circuit at the moment. As we go back to the interval, you'll be able to see the gaps here. Now, anything that's underneath a second will go yellow. Anything that's underneath half a second will then go red. Very good indicator on the interval, so you can see who is where out on circuit and who is close to one another.
Yeah, these are probably one of the closest as well, especially at the front with Huguenot, Madsen and Horton, but these guys as well are battling onwards. Like Daniel was saying, it's going to be a very interesting season as well, just because of the schedule. If you think to yourself it's going to be, one of those types of series that you think is Wally, they're trying to battle just quickly. I'll get over with the race schedule very later, because look at that from Amblard. He's trying to get this position back side by side. Wally and Amblard in the Mercedes arena. I thought they were going to come together for a moment. They're not. Amblard, Valentin finally holds on to that position. Wally unable to make a move. Thought he could get it, but he could not get it around the outside. And down into Valentin, he's unable to. I was just saying, the first race next week, we do start next week, Daytona road course. It promises to be one of the best races of the season. I know that's the first race, but if you've ever watched 75 minutes with fuel saving, it is fantastic. As we see Wally, he now has to go around the outside of Dunlop. Can he hold it? Can he hold it? He almost got this. Almost got this. He's got it. Chris Wally around the outside of Dunlop, and Amblard has to give way there, and there's no way he can come make a move right now up the Schumacher S. He cannot. Great move from Chris Wally there around the outside of a very tough corner.
Indeed, and it's a very tough. It's a very tough corner, isn't it? As you say, it's not a corner that you take lightly with any form of overtake, let alone especially when you're trying to banzai around the outside. So good stuff indeed from Chris Wally. Fantastic move, and he's pulled the gap already. Look at that. The gap is now 0.7 of a second. So we're gonna have to see if that maintains. I imagine the fact it's already been 0.7 of a second. I imagine that will start to increase. Whoa! Someone's got off. I think that's Thomas Reiter. Yes, it is. I believe we're going to get a replay of that in a second. Oh, not ideal for Thomas Reiter. Denny Rates has also had a bit of an incident, so let's see if we can get a couple of replays of this, of these incidents. I wonder, is it going to be a bit of damage on the wing of that 97? Is it? Oh, a bit of a tap from the number 6. Just a small tap from Victor Yawan. It's such a shame. Such a shame. It's not what you want to see. Just closing speed was very different. Don't think it was quite something that Victor was too wary of. Denny Race, there we go, just spinning on his own accord. Manages to lose, it's a good 10-12 seconds probably lost there by the time he does get going, maybe even a bit more than that. Does he lose a position? I don't think he does. No, he doesn't seem to lose a position for that moment, but a bit scary. Manages to keep it all in check though, so not the end of the world. It's very easy to do, especially when you start getting on the curb, trying to get on the power. The Porsche, again, it's rear engine, all of that weight's over the rear. The rear starts to go, it's very hard to keep it in check because it tends to go quite quickly because Chris Whaley makes his way past Magnar Jonland. That is a battle out of class as well, so that's not really a battle at all. Dean Timms is now leading once again. There he is there. Dean Timms from Eclipse Racing, number 46, is currently leading the AM category, but again, he has not pitted. So when he pits, he'll most probably drop back down to P3 unless something else were to happen.
Yeah, James Costa's just gone into the pits there. He finds himself just behind. We'll put it like this: he's behind Dylan Kinch, who was P4. So that just gives you an idea of the gaps that James has made as he starts to come. And as expected, the top three in the pros are all in together. Madsen, Huguenot, and Horton all together. Now, I was saying this is going to be interesting because that means Huguenot has gone a lap less on his pits, on his fuel, than the others. Because remember, he went the lap later with his teammate Alex Bennett. This is going to be a little sprint race out of the pit lane, and I love little pit lane battles right here. You've got the full send, the full send racing there for Horton. You've got the comrades for Huguenots. You have got Madsen there, and there you go. Huguenot's just gone. He's gone. He's gone. He's taken a position. He takes P2. And he's going to fly away with P2 using that. And like I said, maybe going in with them because he doesn't need to take all the fuel. He's got a lot of fuel, so he doesn't have to fuel quickly. And Madsen still in the pit. What's happened to Madsen? What's happened to Madsen? Don't tell me it's speeding. I think Madsen's got caught speeding here. Did he go too fast? I just want to have a quick replay myself. He goes to brake. Ooh, that's too fast. I think that is Madsen who gets a penalty there, and look how far back he is now because of it. That's a shame there for Madsen running second, but it does mean that Huguenot does take P2 over. He would have taken it anyway with the pit stop with how quickly he went out, but Huguenot and Horton Huguenot now starting to pull away from Harley. Still miles away from Alex Gowan. Knock on wood, Alex probably has this for VRT Satellite.
Well, again, we'll have to see. It's definitely not over. We've got another, 12 minutes left of this race to go, so it's definitely not over. Everyone bar, there's actually a few people that are just coming through. It's surprisingly amount of people that haven't actually done. Daniel Sedgley hasn't actually made his second pit stop. Neither has Danny Race. Matt, we also got Ethan Bass. He's not made. I've just had a quick look. Ethan Bass. I don't know if he's got some form of. There we go. So Alex Bennett So Alex Bennett now inherits the lead because Gal and Campbell both now come into the pits. Ethan Bass, he hasn't made a second pit stop. Bear in mind, however, he is up into P2. Now, having a look at the gap, I wonder if possibly, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I still think it's going to have to be a very, very quick pit stop. But I still think a P4 could very well be on the cards for Ethan Bass. Maybe still a top 5. It's going to be close, though. It depends how far Ethan Bass can go. But we're going to have to see. He might have to come in. It's going to have to be sooner rather than later. I mean, he's been going one of the last people to actually come into the pits. So he's going to have to do something very good. Daniel Sedgley, Danny Race, they both come into the pits, what you can just see on the left-hand side of your screen. But Ethan Bass continues for another lap at least. And now he actually inherits the lead. Started at the back, bear in mind. And he now inherits the lead, admittedly out of sync slightly with pit stops, but at a very impressive drive nevertheless.
Yeah, fantastic drive from him. He's actually earned those positions as well. Granted, not these last 4 because of the pit stop rotation, but he's earned a lot of these positions with some fantastic moves around, really enjoying himself this season. At the start of this season, you can just see he's having a great time. Got a little bit of a battle brewing here as well. That is Johan Assen. He's got Ola Sandvis right in front of him, and it's for the middle of the amateurs. I think they're down for about P5 and 6 for the amateurs. And he's just currently just battling away. Now, these guys have both taken their pit stops. This is 4th position, and this is the battle for the end of the race for them. And with 10 minutes left to go, it is going to be quite close. And of course, that 10-minute warning is vital. We are looking at 40 laps at the moment. I think it's 40. It might go down again. We see as Alex Bennett comes into the pits. That extra lap could be crucial, because some of these drivers may have pitted thinking it's going to be 1 lap less or 1 lap more. They're going to have to wait on for that. But Assen at the moment, he's right on the back. And now comes the time where we're not going to look at people going, hey, I'm just going to stay behind you. We're looking at the time now where people are going to go, I got to run. I'm taking it. I'm not going to hold on. I've got to run. But Assen's going to have to lift and let Kjellberg through. He's going to lose some time to Ola there. and he isn't going to lose any more time with Madsen behind, but it gets to a point really of, I want my battles, and it's the perils of multi-class racing. And is that it?
This is Harley Horton, Alex Bennett. This is P3. This is a battle for P3. Last step on the podium.
It is. That's last step on the podium. Horton and Bennett battling on right here. What can Bennett do? I tell you what, he's done a great recovery. I think they've managed to just go along with the first fuel stop, and he is now back in the fray. What can he do? It is Lambo versus Lambo. It's not ready for a send at the moment, but Bennett right now, he's put himself in a great position. He's not done of Verstappen Hamilton, but that's a late move. And Bennett's got caught. Horton's got caught out there. Both of them caught out. And he does let him go, but that was just a mistake. And they've let Yawen and Horton, the two teammates, go on ahead. And those two are battling as well. They've done a team order switch. But that move there, I think it's just the fact that Horton got a little bit out of shape there. You could see he missed the apex. He came back to the apex, and that caught it. We'll just see on this replay right now. I think that's what happened. Horton just went a little bit wide. Let's just see. Yeah. Bennett wasn't ready for it. I think he thought he could make it in some respects. So that's unfortunate there. They lost a position. So that puts Yawen up into P3 onto the podium.
Indeed, it does. I think, to be fair as well, it may have been, I think, Alex Bennett, just whether he got caught out, because I think it looked like he followed. Look, they both essentially just followed. The line was almost identical, and it looked to be just following one after another. So that could very well be, the sort of the cause there. Yeah, as you get, it's a shame. It's a shame that something like that did happen, but it's not out of the realms of possibility, especially again when people are so close and racing so hard with each other. Realistically, you just got to move on with it. It's the closing stage of the race. Like I said again, the points don't really matter. Well, there's no points. It's the pre-season, so you've just got to make sure that you're on the ball and you're in a position where you're not pushing the car too much now because of any possible frustration. Harley Horton, actually, Alex Bennett are still only about 4 tenths away from one another still. So this battle's still going to continue, I'm sure, down to the very, very last corner.
Yeah, it's definitely just going to be. I think we're just going to have to wait to the end right now. That they are battling hard. They have got a lap car in front of them. That is Francois Padeo, who probably will cause a hassle. And again, look at the line again. Horton taking that line. I don't think it's a mistake. I think that's how he wants to take the line. I think that's how he wants to take Dunlop right now. And I think Bennett did get caught out by the way he's taken it, but he's realized it the second time. And maybe Alex is going to start thinking about putting that car in, putting that nose in, and just going, all right, you're going wide, I'm going to have you. Because I think that could be the way. Of course, Will Richardson right there at the back, unfortunately, just going away. You can see, I'm pretty sure everybody has taken their pit stops now. So we are now at the witching hour, as they say. 5 minutes, 40 seconds remaining. It is still going to be 30. It's going to be just 39 laps. I've got a timing calculator, and it's showing 39.04. So it's going to be tight. We may get an extra lap, but it would be in the seconds. Alex Gao will control the pace, though, I reckon. But here is Johannesson, against Ola Salmqvist. And he did make that move earlier on, but he had to just hold back right here. Pretty sure with the slow-mo drive. We may get a replay very shortly what that was. But Assen does take that position away from Salmqvist. And again, it is going to be hard. And here we go with the that's Sean Campbell, sorry. And Campbell, it's a very wide line there from Campbell going in at the Michelin curve, but he does recover. But fortunately, he's in a bit of no man's land at the moment, is Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, he's currently running in P6. I don't think he's going to be too worried. I think P6 is, again, it's a very respectable finishing position, or very respectable position at the moment in the closing stage of the race with less than 5 minutes to go. Yeah, as you say, I said earlier on, I prefer someone that's just around me, just so I can actually have something to... I also like people as well, when we're racing as well, we've got, engineers in your teammates and whatnot. I like information being fed to me. I like to know where the gaps are, where they are on track. I just like that sort of stuff. I feel like it keeps me focused. Some people, it feels like it distracts them. For me, I personally prefer that because it keeps me alert, keeps me on the ball. Alex Bennett, Harley Horton. This battle is just right back to exactly as it were. It's a carbon copy of what we just saw a few laps ago. I wonder, hopefully not, there's not going to be any contact this time about. Alex Bennett and Harley Horton, I think they're both going to have to be a little bit more careful this time around. But again, we will have to see. The gap is fluctuating between 3/10, then back to 2/10, then back to 3/10 again. It just goes. It ebbs and flows up and down.
Sorry, mistake from Horton. He slid through the chicane and side by side through the final corner through Coca-Cola, and Bennett tried to get a move, and then now he's compromised himself. He won't be able to get a pull, but he had no choice. He had to pull to the side and go and try and fight for that position. Horton holds onto it. He'll be able to hold onto it. I saw a slide. It was a very controlled slide from Horton. He managed to save it, but it cost him. And Bennett, if he didn't just not get the optimal line, he would have had a move there, and it's going to struggle. But again, they're back to square one. Almost identical. I'll tell you what, you can't get much identical than this. 54.064 for Horton and 54.080 for Bennett. They're really close together at the moment, and they've only got to cut a lap, maybe 2 laps left right here. There's 3 minutes remaining. Need to see what Alex Gow is right now, and he's down at the Dunlop curve. That gives you an idea of really how far away we are to seeing the end of this race. Can Bennett make a move here? He gets a nice launch out of the Ford curve. It's going to have to be a send. He's trying to put his car right where he needs to be, and he cannot. But again, this line, this wide line, this slingshot line at Horton, and you can see Bennett's picked up on it. And Bennett's now like, you know what? I'm going to use this. Take all of the line I can, take all of the dirty air, take all of the slipstream, and he's looking for a move. Is he looking to sell the dummy? No, I thought he was. There's going to be a move in a minute, and I'm hoping we're not going to see tears and carbon fiber everywhere.
Well, as in traditional iRacing fashion, we have bendy carbon fiber, so I don't want to see any necessarily shards of carbon fiber go, but we want to see a bit of bent carbon fiber possibly. I know the Mercedes is famous for that. But again, coming into these closing stages of the race, there's a few more battles going through. One of the battles, actually, I believe... well, I just had a look, actually. It's not as close as I thought it was going to be. Dylan Kinch has just had a moment. Let us see if we can get a replay of that. It's going into turn when this happened but a few moments ago for Tiki Simsport, the number 31 Lamborghini. Is it just the... oh, rotates in the way. Oh, manages to save it, though. Only not even a half spin. Fair play indeed. Managed to hold it. Nice and good. But there we've got... oh, I thought it was going to be Alex Bennett again. Tries to go up the inside. Not a way around it. That's cost him. That has cost him 3/4 of a second. That could be the gap that Harley Horton needs. If he can maintain and he can push the car a bit. It's actually already come down to back to 0.4 of a second now. So I stand corrected. It's... this is the battle watch out for. It really very much is. We've also got a bit of a battle. I thought it was a bit of a battle, actually. No, it's not. It's James Costa getting passed by Chris Wally at the moment. So James Costa still leading by 2.5 seconds. So he is just running away with it at this point. But Eric Benson and Will Richardson have a bit of a battle side by side. Oh, this is brave. Never going to work in a million years, gentlemen. Oh, my goodness, it has worked. I've never seen that, I don't think, in my sim racing career. They've both managed to go side by side.
How? Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm quite surprised, but the battle's still going on right here, and he might be able to make a move into this. Can they do it side by side? They're going to go. Who's going to be the better off here? There's no way. No, he's broke a bit too late there. Benson will take this from Richardson. And also, while I'm just watching the pro at the same time, Bennett's just had a mistake. Bennett's just had a mistake at the Ford curve, and he has lost all the time on Horton. In fact, he's out of the slipstream. He's out of the slipstream right now, and we're about to see Alex Gow's going to cross the line with 4 seconds remaining. We're going for another lap, Daniel. Who's got the fuel? This is crucial. Who's fueled for 40 laps and who's fueled for 39? We might see some late escapades right here.
I tell you what, one person you want to assume. Alex Bennett is not one of those people, though. He's come into the pits. Alex Bennett's had to come into the pits. Oh, I wonder if that can't be because of damage. That must be because he's run out of fuel, or he knows he's going to run out of fuel. I tell you, one person that I'm hoping he's got enough fuel is Alex Gow, the number 64 for VRS Satellite. Oh, that's such a shame. Alex Bennett is going to lose out a massive amount of positions.
No, it's a drive-through.
Is it a drive-through?
Is it instant points? Yeah.
Oh, no. Not what you want. There it is. Oh, dearie me. That is not what you want, is it? Actually, no, to be fair, Alex Bennett has only got 18 instant points. Interesting.
That's one we'll have to keep an eye on for afterwards. But Alex Gal is the man we are looking at. He's coming up the Schumacher S's here. He doesn't need to do it. Remember, he was on 21 incident points at one stage. So no idea how he's been doing ever since then, but must be pretty decent to just hold on at the moment. He's only got a few corners left. He sees a battle in front. And that's a very interesting battle, by the way. That's Dean Timms and Simon Dodd. That's a very crucial battle. We may have to keep an eye on that battle because that's for the podium position, the final podium position in the race. But Alex Gal will let those two have one more lap to have that little battle. So the first winner of the Race Anywhere World Series, it is press day. It is the shakedown. Alex Gal will come across the line from flag to flag and win at the Nurburgring.
Fair play indeed. Fantastic racing. Very, very good indeed. Cannot argue with that at all. Albin Kjellberg, he's he's leading by a good sizable margin, and he is well on the way. He's only got a few corners to go, and then he'll be taking that all-important race win. Then where is James Costa? James Costa's actually got a fair bit of a while to go. Admittedly, he's leading by 3.2 tenths of a set at 3.2 seconds. So we are going to have to see how that pans out. But Albin Kjellberg, he will be coming across the line. Eric Benson and Will Richardson. Let's have a look. This is the battle that's actually we're gonna have to keep a really, really close eye on because the gap is only half a second, less than half a second between the guys. It's less than the 0.2 of a second now. Oh my goodness, this is going to be close fighting. No, Ethan Bass has had a moment. Ethan Bass has gone off on the last lap. Not what you wanted at all. There goes Albin Kjellberg. So he takes the race victory in the Pro-Am category. James Costner coming across the line. But, oh my goodness, such a shame for Ethan Bass.
Look where Benson's putting his car in the middle of the track. Richardson's going over the late move and they're going to touch. And that was always going to be chaos there. And Richardson will take the position. That was never going to work. I'm sorry, Will. Great defending from Benson there. He put the car where he needed it. And Richardson, unfortunately, had nowhere to go. He tried for the late move. He got desperate. He will take that position. Granted, it's a press day. It is a press day. It's not the huge deal. Ethan Bass comes into the pits, unfortunately, at the end of the race. I think he may have had a drive-through. What a finish there. That's not what we were expecting. And I think we still got a little finish going through as James Costa will finally cross the line. And look how close everybody else is. Everybody's been trapped for fuel. James Costa will win the amateur. Dylan Kinch will come across in P2. Simon Dodd holds off his teammate Dean Timms, who takes fourth. Svenny Matters finished with 0.1 of a litre at the line. That extra lap I said was going to be crucial. It turned out it was. Look how many people had to come into the pits.
Several drivers had to come into the pits for that final stop. Let's have a quick look at who. Yeah, so we had Nick Madsen, you said Rob Veerman, they had to come in. Apologies, that was Ingo Lapsian, had to come in as well. Stuart Reynolds had to come. Yeah, a lot of people had to come in. So that's a very, very... Well, again, as it's press day, that's going to have to be something that's a very, very... people have to take that into consideration. If that happens again, especially when it's up for points next race and next time out next week, that's going to be a tricky thing to manage. That's going to be a tricky thing to explain to the team managers if you run out of fuel, isn't it?
I wouldn't want to be in that. I wouldn't want to be in that room afterwards. I wouldn't want to be. But you got to say that's all down to Alex Gow, and we always say that the leader controls. He would have known his pace, and he would have known how much time he had before crossing the line to see the white flag. So he controlled that, and in some respects, if he knew he was going 40 laps, then he probably did that on purpose. And you got to think you could do that in a race situation where you could just confuse your opposition. So maybe he did that on purpose. We don't know, but you can just see the results there. Alex Gow taking the lead overall and taking the victory. 4 seconds with the final gap between him and Huguenot. Victor Yoen will take P3 and Harley Horton will be fourth. Sean Campbell, bit of a slide and a bit of an issue there, but he comes home in fifth. And then Alex Bennett comes home sixth overall in the pros with Denny Ratz behind him. Match Furtwanger as well. And they were the only ones on the lead lap. As you can just see the others coming down as well. That is Frederick Pochet, Nick Madsen. We saw what happened to Nick, unfortunately. Robin Veerman as well at the back. Didn't see what happened there. Stuart Reynolds did not have a good start. James Armstrong, we saw what happened, and Augusto Kalimi rounded it off there. He crashed out early on and finished quite a bit down. Of course, then in the Pro-Ams, we did see Alvin Kjellberg. He dominated. He finished ahead of 2 pro drivers there, but he managed to get going. We just see that the bottom of the Pro-Ams as well. Some good results as well. A couple of people also retiring. And then, of course, the amateurs. Well, just there we go. There's the top of the Pro-Ams quickly. Kjellberg from Mateus from quite a good distance there. 25 seconds. Daniel Segley will take home P3. Will Richardson 4th. Eric Benson will be 5th with Patterman in 6th. Chris Wally will be 7th. And then Ethan Bass. Oh, Ethan Bass, what could have been, unfortunately. I think that was a drive-through / run out of fuel. Valentin Armblatt behind him, Thomas Reiter. And then we come into those that retired. Harry Wills, Daniel Gilding, Thomas Dandridge, Joachim Code, Chris Chatterton, and Stefan Kissgaard. All of those guys, unfortunately, did retire. And in the amateurs, very quickly, we'll just quickly go over the amateurs. James Costa. I gotta say, James Costa did a fantastic drive today. Just get the amateurs very quickly. I think he did one of the best drives out there, really. He did hold some dominance, continued, but Costa wins in the amateurs. There it is. It was close in that look, but I think a lot of that was just fuel saving from Dylan Kinch. Very close at the end, though, between Kinch, Simon Dodd, and Dean Timms as they come home in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, respectively. And then you've got David Meekin. You can see how far down they were. David Meekin was a lap down, followed by Magna Jonlund, Jolan Assen, Ola Sanvis, Edison Manuera, Simon Chester, Ingo Lapsian, Francois Padeo, and then Henning Haig, Levi Johnson, Mark Bailey, and unfortunately then Frederick Joy at the back there. Internet issues. That was a shame to see. I got to be honest. That was a real shame to see for Frederick, but unfortunately it was at the end for him. So that's such a shame there. I was looking forward to seeing his pace, but that's the way it works sometimes. And thankfully it is press day.
Absolutely, press day gives everyone an opportunity to run through and to sort of, as you say, get the feelers out, make sure that they can see where they are in terms of, how far they actually really want to be able to push the car, what changes they need to make. So, again, there's lots of different opportunities. There's lots of different places in which you can, you've got to. There's a lot to take in, isn't there? To be fair, with a circuit like this, a lot to take in, a lot to actually look at. And I'm sure this is going to be something that I think realistically is going to be something that people are going to take a hell of a lot from going into next week.
Yeah, and of course it's a totally different kettle of fish next. I can't believe I used that old British saying, but it is going to be a totally different kettle of fish next week. Next Wednesday, they go to Daytona, which is big straights, big overtaking opportunities, and a lot of slipstreams. We're going to see a lot of trains. I say that from experience. When I talk about El Clasico, James Armstrong and Sean Campbell, I'm talking 4,000th of a second at the line after the top 8 in the pros stay together for 50 minutes. And that was one race. And then the next time we saw them, exactly the same thing. That promises to be fantastic next week at Daytona. Of course, if you want a full schedule, I might as well just run down the full schedule as well. We're going to be seeing we'll see Daytona, then followed by Interlagos, Le Mans, Road America, Spa, take a break week, and then come back for the final, Monza, Hockenheimring, Red Bull Ring, Imola, and Silverstone. But that's next week. Oh, hang on one second. I was going to say, I thought we were about to wrap up, but I think, you know what? There's a man I love talking to, Daniel, and I've got to bring this man in because it is Simon Dodd, who gets perhaps his best result in a while in the World Series, Simon. But it's in press day. Can you keep that momentum forward, Simon?
I don't know. I took 2 months off over the summer, so my time hasn't been that great. And then today I just sort of got my head down and just put the laps in, and then I saved a bit of fuel behind Dean before the second stop. Went the extra lap and then was able to short fuel a bit and just took him in the pit stop sequence for the second pit stops to grab that little podium, which is my best finish since Donington. I think that was also a press day actually, where I got a podium in race 2 there.
That was the first race of the season. I do remember that one myself, all for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. Simon, talk me through, because I haven't had a chance to drive these GT3s yet since the update. Neither of us have really. Talk us through how you're finding it now with these changes. I know it's also a new car as well with the Ferrari, but the tires. Talk us through that, because you've got an idea from all your time with the old tires.
I'm really liking it. I think the new Ferraris it's taken the old Ferrari and removed what was bad about it. And it just seems a lot nicer to drive now for me, personally. I mean, I've driven it in all of the RSR leagues now, and then we've got this new one. We pushed the tyres a little hard in the first stint, and they were starting to go at the end, but they were all right. It was noticeable that they were running out, shall we say. I had a bit of a moment just before the final hairpin. Few laps from the end where I was sideways in the air, which a little bit of poo came out, not gonna lie, but somehow I managed to keep it on the black stuff and it was fine. Yeah, it's a good update, definitely.
So you're racing a lot with Dean as always, and it's nice to see the two Eclipse. You know, you've always been together, you two, and do we expect to see that a lot, especially with Daytona next week? You know yourself, it is a draft. It is not draft in NASCAR style, but it's a lot of drafting, a lot of train. Are we going to see some? You got to give us some spoilers. You going to do any teamwork around Daytona next week? Are you going to spill the beans?
I'm just going to race. I mean, if you lose the draft there, then you've lost that position. Basically, it's you've got to stick in that draft, and one mistake and you drop back to above sort of 1.4, 1.5 seconds, and then it's really hard to get that back unless the other person makes a mistake. So. We shall see. We shall see. Simon, well done on that third place. Have you got any shout-outs just before we let you go on your way for the evening so you can have some rest and some sleep? Any shout-outs? Shout out to Eclipse Team Racing, obviously, or Eclipse Racing Team, and obviously the organisers of this league, yourselves running it, and might as well do Pervade software. And if you're a small business owner, sign up to Police Cyber Alarm for some free vulnerability scanning and stuff with your firewall things. Gives you threat reporting for all your firewall. Get a bit of business in there.
had to get that in. Simon, congratulations on a P3. Hopefully we see more of it this season. It's going to be the one to watch. All the best, Simon, and we shall see you next week at Daytona.
Marvellous. See you next week, mate.
All the best, Simon.
See ya.
Well, Daniel, I think that is all for the night, and I think it's been a fantastic opening to Season 1 of the Race Anywhere World Series. So I think it's safe to say thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking with us through it all and watching. If you've been here from start to finish, thank you very much. If you like what you see, of course, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up for YouTube algorithms and all of that. A shout out to our sponsors, of course, Race Anywhere, who don't own, they power the series, and of course other sponsors underneath: Race Anywhere, of course, Sim 3D and the World Series League, and our website. All those websites are underneath the video if you would like to see any more. We will be back for the Race Anywhere World Series next Wednesday. I almost said Friday for some reason. Next Wednesday. Check out Absolute Sim Racing for any more races, for any more broadcasts. Of course, we are usually about every night, and you can hit that bell. Oh, there is no bell, sorry, but you will be able to hit the bell soon, and you'll be able to get notified of that. But until then, from Absolute Sim Racing, I've been Craig King. Beside me, of course, on the camera and the microphone has been Daniel Hanover. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week, same time at Daytona. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.